It's been 3 months and 19 days since the 97 NASCAR season's finale at Atlanta Motor Speedway. The off-season was filled with wholesale change. The landmark 98 campaign got off to a heartwarming start, but last year's title contenders have had ups and more than their share of downs. The rules inspired by this racetrack speed have produced some great competition. Now we're back in Atlanta. Welcome to NASCAR Today. This time of year in this part of the country, the weather can be pretty unpredictable. We're live at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Let me tell you that the weather has improved dramatically from horrendous to merely threatening. Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Despain. Big rainstorm blew through here this morning. Racetrack people and television people were having to make a lot of strategic decisions, prepare a lot of scenarios about what might happen today. At some point in that process, somebody said, let's don't take any chances. Let's put Despain in the booth. And for the record, it was at that moment that the weather began to improve. I'm taking all the credit. Two things will happen today. We'll race on ABC today, or we'll race tomorrow on ESPN. Either way, Benny Parsons is going to be helping us to cover the action. Once the spotlight shifts from weather to racing, what's the story?
Well, I think the first thing that the story is spoilers, because the Chevrolets and Pontiacs have never raced here with a 5-inch rear spoiler or a 5-inch front air dam. And the Ford Taurus has even less spoiler than they had last week at Las Vegas, down to 4 3/4. And the rain this weekend, not a lot of practice to find out exactly what those cars were going to do.
We haven't really gotten a sense of that rule change, have we?
No, we really haven't, because they only practice for about 45 minutes. And, you know, it takes the drivers 2 or 3 days to get the adrenaline flow to the point just before they drop the green flag on a race. And this weekend, they really haven't had a chance to do that. And I always felt like I really need to be pumped when the race started rather than down.
Well, I'm pumped. I'm ready. Bring them on. And the Pontiac guys are pretty excited, too, because after the rule change, they came here having struggled through 98 and swept the front row. Let's go to Bill Weber with the pole sitter.
Well, it was overcast here on Friday, but the sun was shining on John Andretti. A pole-winning performance, but that's old news. What's going to happen in this race?
I hope it's a race today. I mean, I think that we're going to get out there. We don't have made our car real adjustable for the race, and taking our best guess at it, just like we do in qualifying. It worked out in qualifying. We'll see if it works out today.
Are you excited by the fact that the Pontiacs ran well here when we ran on this new configuration in November?
Well, I mean, you know, you're always hoping that you get a little bit of an advantage, and you know, they're a little bit less spoiler than we had now. But last time, I mean, they took about 1 1/8 inches off instead of 1 inch, and I mean, who knows what it's going to mean. But I've got a really strong race car in the STB Pontiac, and got a great motor, and got my sunglasses on in anticipation of the sun.
Yeah, and almost a Richard Petty type sunglass look for you there, John.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the little STP thing in the hat, but I can't afford the hat yet. I got to get a couple more poles.
Okay, or a win. How about that?
A win will get a hat.
Okay, that's John Andretti. Starts number 1, hoping to finish number 1.
The last time Shades there was on the pole was Talladega last spring. You remember what happened? It rained out. He said, man, I hope that doesn't happen this weekend. Everybody will blame me. Outside pole, Todd Bodine hadn't made a race this year. Let's go to Ray Dunlap.
Well, Dave, when some folks do well, they say they're tickled pink, but this weekend Todd Bodine is tickled green, Tabasco green, that is.
Yeah, we're got a promotion this week to launch off the new pepper sauce. It's green, a little different formula, a little different flavor. We're just happy to be here. You know, we've had to go home the last 3 weeks, and hadn't been real pleasant. So to get in the show was one thing, to be outside poles another. We're tickled to death, and hopefully we can just get this race in and run the whole race.
You ripped off a great qualifying lap. Can you race that way?
I think so. You know, we came here last year and tested before the race last year, and we ran some long runs on a race setup, and we're really good. So, you know, we're pretty optimistic that we can stay at the front and be around at the end of the race. The car was good testing. We haven't got any practice since we've been here. You know, we've had, I believe, 6 laps on the track, and that was for qualifying. So we'll have to see. You know, it's kind of the people who take the best gamble and the best guess of what they had last year, and everything will work out.
Well, Dave, Atlanta has always been a Pontiac track, and he's driving a Pontiac.
And behind the Pontiacs, the next 5 are Fords, Trickle, Irwin, and Presley, all smiling. The best of the Chevys would be Labonte and Gordon, 8th and 9th. And, of course, Dallenbach and Speed pretty pleased. Johnny Benson rounding out that top 15. Let's get more on the rule change as we open this week's edition of Benny's Book.
Last November, we saw terrific speeds here at Atlanta. Track reconfiguration, new pavement, and cool temperatures led to 197 mile per hour qualifying speeds, leaving drivers to approach the race with fear and trembling. Even though the race was safe, NASCAR said we don't need to run these kinds of speeds because in NASCAR racing, the emphasis is on competition, not speed. So in the off-season, 3 drivers tested in Atlanta under NASCAR supervision. Dale Earnhardt, Michael Waltrip, and John Andretti. They each drove their own car and each other's cars as well. Out of that testing came the 5 and 5 rule, designed to slow the cars down and make for better competition. However, we still had the unknown factor of the Ford Taurus. Chevrolet and Pontiac had the same car, but nobody really knew how the Taurus would perform. Well, the Taurus performed so well at Rockingham and Las Vegas that NASCAR said the playing field was not level. And hence, the new rule this week, reducing the height of the rear spoiler, which is downforce, giving everyone a fair chance and making today's race more competitive.
All right, thank you, Benny. Let the record show that the new rules knocked about 5 miles an hour off the speed at Atlanta Motor Speedway, but this place is still wicked fast. Witnessed 3 crashes this weekend. Steve Park, the Winston Cup rookie, has a broken femur, collarbone, and shoulder and is out for an undetermined amount of time. And in the ARCA race, Bob Kelly is still in the hospital with a broken leg and an abraded lung, as well as Mark Thompson, who had his bell rung pretty well. All 3 of those guys are going to be okay, but it's a demonstration of just how fast this place is and how hard you hit when something goes wrong. We have a lot more from Atlanta Motor Speedway. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, well, we're going to review the year to date, including, I think, the most pleasant surprise of the season thus far. That would be this guy. We'll also take a look at one of the memorable Atlanta moments past as we celebrate the 50th anniversary.
NASCAR Today, brought to you by Daytona USA, the ultimate motorsports attraction.
Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway with just 3 races down and 8.5 months to go. It is still pretty early to be drawing any big conclusions, but it is not too early to take an early season review of what's happened in Winston Cup 1998. Earnhardt finally doing Daytona Donuts is the best moment of the young season. But the real story, how well the teams that race the new Ford Taurus have obeyed the law. L stands for learn. The Ford guys tested, talked, tested some more, and learned about how their new car works. A means adapt. Given a new set of racing circumstances, success comes first. To those who adapt best, they are the ones who win. Mark Martin and the Valvoline team proved the point emphatically last Sunday. Of course, the Chevy driver said template generosity was the key to Ford's success. In other words, they said, it's not the law, it's the rules. Their argument suffered temporarily with Jeff Gordon's worst-to-first miracle at Rockingham, but prevailed after Vegas, where the Blue Oval Brigade knocked off 13 of the top 15. Still, the spirit of the 5 and 5 rule is intact, and I think that rule gets credit for some great 98 racing. New valence and spoiler dimensions have reduced downforce, put more driver in the racing equation. The drivers have responded with terrific competition and frequent passes for the lead. Yes, reining in the Ford Taurus is an issue. How do you do it without ruining the racing? It's a tricky challenge, but hey, that's why Gary Nelson gets the big bucks. And speaking of the bucks, last Sunday, $3.5 million in Vegas, a speed fest vindicating Jack Roush's often second-guess scheme to field 5 cars in 98. Looky here, they took 5 of the top 10 spots. Jack took the lion's share of the money home to Michigan. Mark Martin's decision to move in with the Burton kid looks pretty smart. They ran 1-2. Biggest disappointment of the season thus far, I would say it's the bad breaks for Jarrett, 2 races out of 3. And the most pleasant surprise, Mayfield's remarkable progress under the tutelage of Rusty Wallace. I admit it, it was my decision last week at Vegas. Jeremy Mayfield qualified 32nd. I crossed him off the list. Let's don't bother interviewing him. He went from 32nd to 5th, and I'm not making that mistake this week.
Well, Well, this guy is third in Winston Cup points, but again, we've talked about it. You haven't had a chance to test this car with this setup. What's going to happen here?
I don't know. It's going to be tough. I think you probably heard that from a lot of drivers today. And, you know, to come here with last year's notes not going to do us any good either because, you know, they raised raised the air dam and lowered the spoiler. So it's going to be a guessing game. I think a lot of people have made their cars really adjustable, and I know we have anyway, us in the 2 cars. So we'll just have to find out and see what happens, but I'm sure we'll be working on a long time today.
Well, you came through the field last week. Can you do it again this week?
I hope so. You know, we feel like we got a good race car. The Mobile 140 didn't qualify as good as we wanted to, but it's driving really good, and feel good about it.
Okay, that's Jeremy Mayfield. Watch for him. He starts back in 26th position, Dave.
How does he know the car's good? He didn't get to practice. Check this stat. Multi-car teams ranked by their combined average finish. Penske South, Mayfield and Wallace are the best. Roush, despite all the fuss at Vegas, demonstrate how difficult it is to get 5 cars into a solid average finish position. 50th anniversary, our cue to reflect on one of the sport's more memorable moments. It was the championship finale here in 1990. This is the closest Mark Martin has ever been to the Winston Cup Championship, and the finale was marked by owner Jack Roush's unusual strategy. Martin drove a Robert Yates Thunderbird in the finale after it proved faster in testing than any of the Roush-built birds. The Ford teamwork and attempt to stop Earnhardt, who led by 6 points coming in. The reminder on Mark's dash said, think. The message on the radio said, I don't think this car handles so well. Earnhardt ran 3rd. Martin finished 6th. Dale claimed his 4th championship by 26 points. It was one of the tightest championship battles in NASCAR's 50-year history. Take more than a little rain to dampen the enthusiasm of these folks. They've come to Atlanta for the big race. The NASCAR world still buzzing, of course, after the excitement of last weekend's debut event at Las Vegas. Nobody buzzing more than the Roush stable. 5 of the top 10 spots. Happiest guy might have been Johnny Benson. Looked like he might win it later on. He had to spin it.
Well, a week ago, Johnny Benson was one of the 5 Roush drivers that finished in the top 10. A 4th place finish for you. A great day at Las Vegas, but let's not talk about that. Tell me what's going to happen here.
We're not sure what's going to happen. We didn't get any practice here except for qualifying. And, you know, but Steve Meals got tons of notes, so we feel we're going to be in pretty good shape, but, you know, you never know until this race starts.
What's it like working with him? Because he brings tremendous experience to you.
Well, he sure does. I mean, he's really easy to work with. He's real calm and, you know, knows what's going on, and that's the key thing there. And he's works good with the guys. I mean, the guys are always forever working on something and getting things done, and I tell you, it's just a great group of guys.
Okay, no donuts in the grass this week, right?
Well, they kept telling me it's donuts, and they kept saying, no, it's Cheerios. Doing Cheerios in the grass. And no, I did that last week. Hopefully we don't need to do that. It was getting a little boring last week, so we don't need to do that this week.
Okay, well, we'll hope he won't. And Johnny Benson looking for a great finish here at Atlanta.
Elsewhere in the Ford camp for the rookie Kenny Irwin, an excellent qualifying run this week. He will start 5th. He will do so with a new, perhaps temporary crew chief. Let's get more on the story from Ray Dunlap.
Well, Kenny Irwin will start 5th today. That's a pretty good qualifying effort for the 28 car.
Yeah, maybe this 28 car does know how to qualify. You know, we struggled early, but I think we got it down now.
We saw you run so well at Richmond last year, Kenny, and there's some tracks coming up that probably will play to your favor. Where do you think is going to be your best track coming up, other than maybe here at Atlanta?
I'm really looking forward to going to Bristol. You know, we run good in there in the trucks, and I can't wait to run there with the car. So, you know, I mean, kind of me looking down the road, Bristol hopefully is going to be a good race for us also.
Well, hopefully today Atlanta will be a good racetrack for Kenny Irwin.
Mark Reno not ramrodding that effort here today, and remains to be seen what the final decision is going to be, but Ray Fox Jr. will call the race today along with Robert Yates. All right, reaction to the new rules. It's kind of based on the brands. Give a listen to this week's edition of Track Talk.
Just right, guys. Just right. Half a pound on the left side. Go.
I think they reacted a little too quickly on one race situation. I think the true test ought to be the wind tunnel test that they'll conduct after this race. I think is going to definitely happen, is what I understand, and let the wind tunnel test speak for themselves.
It's going to obviously, you know, probably help us to some degree, but again, how much we don't know. This racetrack's a lot different racetrack, a lot more of a downforce type load on the racetrack, a lot of grip, so you know, they still have a lot there. So again, we're just going to have to go out and stay within ourselves, worry about what we have, and work within the confines and parameters of what we have.
We just have to wait and see, but we need more than just a little Band-Aid, I think. So we'll just see how it goes.
You know, we'll have to wait and see what happens here at Atlanta, and then, you know, I think NASCAR is planning on taking the cars to the wind tunnel Monday after here. So, you know, I expect it's probably going to be, you're probably going to see a major change after Atlanta here.
You get what I said about the brands? You could kind of tell a difference in the reaction to the rules. You know a guy who's very happy with the way this season is going? Rusty Wallace leading the points. This is the year he was supposed to have last season.
Well, Rusty Wallace is the Winston Cup points leader, but last week, just before qualifying, he changed an engine, and this week you had a bolt come off for him, a shock.
Yeah, well, there's really nothing going wrong. Let's not make it sound like that. You know, we just put an engine in that we thought was a little stronger, and it turned out to be a little stronger. So it was a good call, and it worked out good. But the weird thing, we want to qualify here on Friday, pulled out of pit road, come down the back straightaway, and the bottom bolt that holds the shock absorber on actually fell out. So we don't know if it was not tightened from the shop or what the deal was, because the shock was still, it was never taken off at the racetrack. But I can promise you one thing, nothing will ever come off that car again. Robin really got on those guys, and it's prepared good right now.
My point is, Rusty, that all the bad luck you had last year seems to be good luck for you this year.
It seems that way. I think it's preparation. I think it's communication, organization. Our organization is so much better this year. I can come to the races smiling instead of going, oh, man, I don't like what this guy's doing, I like what this guy's doing, or upset about this. Everything seems to be flowing right now. We're doing the best things for the team. If we got an engine that's strong, we put it in. If it's not strong, we take it out. We're doing right calls instead of addressing different issues, and everything's really good this year.
Only guy with 3 top 5s in the first 3 races. Dave?
All right, Rusty and the rest of us hoping we get the race in tonight so that Reese Davis has something to talk about, because the bikes at Daytona and all the rest are threatened by rain, too. We'll be right back. NASCAR Today live from Atlanta Motor Speedway. The rest of the starting lineup: Gary Bradbury, 20th, makes his first race of the year. The point leader Wallace, 22nd, with his brother behind him and his teammate behind him. There's a 3-car freight train waiting to happen. Earnhardt is 30th. Bill Elliott heads the next part of the list at 31st starting spot. Real story, the provisionals. You could line those guys up and make a heck of a trophy dash. How about the names back there? And who went home? Big story right there. First of all, you got Chad Little 9th in points, but how about Sterling Marlin? 332 straight races dating back to the first race of '87. 7th longest streak among active drivers. He has not missed a race since he began his career as a full-time Winston Cup driver. That is the legacy of Robbie Gordon, ladies and gentlemen. His provisionals are based on Robbie's last year's points. Let's hear next from the Ford driver of the 99 car as we get closer to starting time.
Well, Dave, Jeff Burton here off the great finish in Las Vegas last week, but we're not talking about that anymore. Limited practice time here for the Taurus with the shorter spoiler.
Well, I think it's limited for everybody. You know, everybody that ran here last year, really their notes aren't good anymore because everybody has had spoiler taken away. Even the guys that came here and tested have had spoiler taken away from when they came here and tested. So this is a crapshoot today. It could be anybody's game.
I can't talk to your teammate Chad Little, but on his behalf, I know you're all disappointed he's not here today.
Well, we really are. You know, this is a tough sport. Sent, you know, Chad home, sent Sterling Marlin home. A lot of good race teams went home. The one car had, you know, Steve's laid up in the hospital, broke up, and I really feel worse for him than anybody else. And not only did they not make the race, he's broke up pretty bad. So this sport can be an awful lot of fun when things are going well, but it can be terrible when it's not going well. And that's just what it's all about, I guess. It builds tough character, I guarantee you that.
It certainly does, and this guy missed this race a couple years ago, but came back to have a strong finish in the points. We'll see how Chad does and how Jeff does here today.
All right, thanks, guys. In this tough sport, Dick Trickle has been making his living for, what, about 35 years. He's won 1,000 short track races, and for the PrimeStar 500, he's going to line up third. Way to go, Trickle. Let's hear from him. He's with Ray Dunlap.
Well, Dave, Dick Trickle had a great qualifying effort. Starts the Heilig-Myers Ford on the 3rd position today. Kind of hard to believe it, but I think we're actually going to get to race.
Well, NASCAR is going to get that window they need. You know, they always seem to. And, you know, it says a lot for the Heilig-Myers, you know, Junior Dunleavy team. You know, they just brought me a great car. We got minimal practice. Turn her down in the corner, stood on the gas, and come up with a good time.
Junie's not feeling very well right now, Dick, and can you give us an update on his condition?
Well, he's somewhat ill. I just talked to him the other evening, and they got him physically ready for this. He's checking the hospital this coming Monday here, and it's good timing. Doctors are awful optimistic because he's got a real early start on it, but they're going to go in there and do a little work on the valve in his heart and clean up some veins and stuff, but they're very positive. And speaking with Junior, he's ready for it. I mean, nobody's looking forward to it naturally, but I think it's going to be a positive situation for him. He'll be feeling good the next few years. Because, see, he's won one Winston Cup race, and he needs to be around for the next ones coming up because we're going to win a few, and, you know, for Junior. And he's really just somewhat ill. I think he's going to come out great.
Well, hopefully that'll be today. And, Junie, if you're watching, everybody here at the track hopes you get better and get back real soon.
Next week, we're off. Following week, Darlington. Pre-race show, 12:30 Eastern on ESPN.
Remember, they carry an awful lot of speed into the corners here, and the right side tires have shown some wear, so that'll give the teams a chance to check it out.
All right, thanks, Ray. Quick word about Ray Evernham. You know, last week somebody accused that team of laying down at Las Vegas to try to affect the rules. Boy, that got Evernham's attention. He's still talking about it.
Well, Dave, I went looking for $1 billion, and it took a long time to find it because I didn't have Benny's room number. But Ray Evernham, some guys have made an accusation off the record that maybe you guys laid down at Las Vegas, and you said you wouldn't do that for $1 billion, and I, for one, believe you.
Well, thanks, Bill. Yeah, and I addressed that right away when I got here with those guys, and just pretty much notified them, thanked them for the motivation. You know, I took that as an insult to our team. You know, we work hard. We had an off day. We don't need anybody rubbing it in our faces. So, you know, we got the motivation, and I can guarantee all the Chevy fans that I'll be a thorn in those people's side for a long time.
Your thoughts on the rule change to the Ford?
Well, you know, I promised myself I wasn't going to get into the politics of all the rule changes. I think it's pretty obvious they need to do something, you know, and I think everybody knows the quarter-inch wasn't enough. But, you know, I'm going to try and stay out of what they need to do. We'll have some black and white answers when they, you know, when they come back from the wind tunnel. The only reason I even jumped in, threw my hat in the political ring was because of that comment. And, you know, like I said, if what they really want to do is race on an equal basis, I mean, heck, let's cut the bodies off and we'll run, you know. You know, maybe we can run one of those Saturday night specials where it's a big bet and nobody knows about it.
Have a good day.
Thanks.
I assure you they will not take the bodies off. They love having Ford, Chevy, and Pontiac involved in this form of racing. Let's get down to Ray Dunlap for a quick final thought here.
Well, the thing is, Dave, whenever they took the quarter-inch off of this spoiler, it took actually 13 square inches off there. Now, what will that do? We'll find out when the green flag falls.
All the talk about rules and all the talk about who's got what spoiler. Well, it's an important issue, but remember the bottom line. They're going to race 500 miles, and then they're going to take one of each brand to the wind tunnel. Look for this rule-changing story to be a continuing story in 1998. PrimeStar 500, we hope it's going to happen next on ABC. Be sure and get over there. I'm Dave Despain. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
But right now, things look pretty good. As we enter this event, Rusty Wallace is atop the point standings. Mark Martin, you'll notice, is in 7th position. He's last Sunday's winner in Las Vegas. And Mark Martin is also part of a 5-car team this year that's off to a very good start.
Car owner Jack Roush is redefining teamwork. He has bonded his youth with intensity and sprinkled his crews with experience. His drivers share his vision, but are his 5 teams and their untested tourists ready for a grueling prime-time schedule? The man and his men are waiting, but the early races left them struggling and steaming, waiting for someone to point the way. Mark Martin did just that, flashing to the finish at Las Vegas, leading 5 Roush cars in the top 10. The message? These spaces will win races. 1 team, 5 drivers, 5 top 10 finishes. Roush Racing beat the odds in Vegas, but not here in Atlanta. Chad Little, 10th last week, 9th in points, failed to qualify for this race. But the other 4 Roush Fords are in this field. And here's Mark Martin, number 6 in your program, number 6 on the grid. Just part of an all-star lineup that knows winning races is one thing, winning championships is another.
Last November here in Atlanta, the champagne was bubbling high. Jeff Gordon's second title, that's the reason why. But now the party's over, and there's worry in these eyes. Is it rules, bad luck, or Taurus that has shaken up these guys? Disappointed in Daytona, this gallant team wouldn't stop. They knew a guy named Evernham would lead them to the top. But Vegas would be vicious, a 17th place that day. He did not lead a single lap. When will this go away? We've seen a true reversal for one of Ford's favorite sons. Gone is misfortune. Rusty's steely stare is done. It started in Daytona with that shootout that he snared, which left old Rusty smiling from way up in the air. He raced the rock in Vegas with that perfect Penske grace. 3 top 5s to his credit. Now he's the one they chase. What a stark contrast between 2 drivers whose seasons have gone in opposite directions. You know, despite the win at Rockingham, the frustrations and pressures are beginning to mount from within for this talented Jeff Gordon team. And to make matters worse, they must try to turn their year around today at a race and a track where they suffered their worst finish a year ago, 42nd. For Rusty Wallace, it has been a dream year to date. If this were a Disney movie, it would be called Wallace in Wonderland. Everything that could go well has. But if either of these is to win today, to be the one that will prevail, they'll have to beat a Bobby and maybe a guy named Dale.
Bobby Labonte, Atlanta's Mr. November. A 96 win celebrated Brother Terry's championship and was bookended by last year's repeat win for his car owner, Joe Gibbs. His Pontiac is yet to deliver in 98. Maybe Atlanta's the charm. Dale Jarrett. An Atlanta win would soothe the pain of Daytona's pit road and last week's Las Vegas motor explosion. A chance to match last year's PRIMESTAR win and turn his season around. Bobby Labonte could only muster 14th spot with his Pontiac, but he's excited about an all-Pontiac front row. For Dale Jarrett, despite only having 4 laps of practice, he managed to put his car on the outside of row number 2. For Dale Jarrett, he'd like to be like Bobby Labonte is and be called Mr. March.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bob Jenkins along with Benny Parsons. And, man, there is great optimism here, Benny. We're going to get this thing in. But, you know, rain at a racetrack is bad anytime. It was especially bad here in Atlanta this weekend.
The timing was just so bad for the rain because these cars, as you said, this is one of the fastest tracks that NASCAR races on, and these cars have never raced under the present rules with the spoilers they have on the cars. The Chevrolets and the Pontiacs about 1 inch less in the rear and the front than they had last November. The Fords, the Ford Taurus, they have a 1/4 inch less than they had last week, even in Las Vegas. 4 3/4 on the rear, 5 inches on the front. They needed practice. They were not able to get any, and anticipation, trying to build the adrenaline to the guys. It takes about 3 days to get ready to go. They had about 2 hours.
Well, the track is drying quickly. It's going to be a few more minutes before we actually get to the start of this race. And so, again, we remain very optimistic that it will come very soon. Let's go now to our Wide World of Sports studio in New York and your host, John Saunders.
Can we move that monitor? Has it been moved back? We really... Thank you.
How's that? How long are we going to be away, Neil? You have any idea? Okay. Oh, boy. Come on. 160, what, 4 laps?
163.
today was our national anthem. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And now, settle back, get set, relax. In just a matter of minutes, we should be getting ready for those very famous words. And we'll be getting ready for the PRIMESTAR 500 here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, here on a Sunday afternoon in March. We're delighted that you're with us. And we're going to work with General Stafford, and we're going to have to do this for you. General Stafford is trying to take it from tickets from giving away experiments, $5 donation or 5 tickets for $20. Right.
The green racetrack, your concerns?
Well, not a lot of concern. I mean, I think Goodyear brought a new tire here, and obviously last year they were a little bit concerned about it, so we're going to have, I think, a caution after lap 25, and we'll adjust on it then and see how it goes.
All the talk about the Fords versus the General Motors products, and all of a sudden it's an all Pontiac front row. Were you guys sandbagging the first couple of races?
There's no such thing, you know, Jack. In racing, I mean, you run as hard as you can run, and we knew we had a good car for here, and we got very limited practice, but that was probably good for us because sometimes we can back up too.
Jerry Punch, the one thing that Robbie Loomis says about his driver is he's consistent and he's a fast learner.
Well, how about a guy as the former champion, Terry Labonte, your Kellogg Chevrolet, good qualifying effort for you. How do you see this race today?
Gosh, I don't know. You know, we've didn't get any practice after qualifying, so everybody kind of had to guess at the race setup. We got a different tire than we had last time, and the rules are a little different, so I don't know. We put some springs in it, and we hope they're right.
People talking about this race today where experience would be the premium, the knowing what a racetrack could do, but this track is so different than what it was back when you raced all those years.
Yeah, it's a whole different deal now, and you know, so whoever hits the right setup is going to run good, and you know, who doesn't, they're not going to run good. So I don't know. We just hope the weather holds off and we can get the thing in today.
All right, Terry Labonte, good starting spot. He'll have his Kellogg Chevrolet toward the front. We check in once again with Bill Weber.
Well, we've talked about experience here at this racetrack, but let's talk about one of the young guns that's off to a great start this season. This is Owensboro, Kentucky's Jeremy Mayfield, teammates with Rusty Wallace. A great run last week, first and third in points. What are you going to do here, young man?
Well, it's too early to tell right now. You know, we didn't get a lot of practice here, but feel really good about the Mobile 1 Ford. I know Rusty feels good about his Miller Lite Ford, so let's see what happens. You know, we guessed, and if one's bad, the other's going to be bad today, and one's good, the other one's going to be good. We got both same setups, and let's see what happens.
Obviously, you want to try and get your way to the front early. Weather is a factor here. How does a driver go about doing that, Jeremy?
I mean, you got to be patient because we don't know about the tires today. You know, we're having a little bit of trouble with the tires, and just got to do the best we can. You know, like you said, you got to go to the front as quick as we can get there, and then hopefully we can stay up there. If the weather, you know, happens to start raining again, then maybe we'll be up front.
How soon will you know if you guessed right?
Probably the first 2 laps. We'll know right off the bat whether we guess right or not. But, you know, our cars are both set up to be adjusted on all day long. So if it's a long day, I'm sure by the end of the day we can get them right.
Well, you've had some great runs and a tough act to follow what you performed last week. Can you do it?
I think so. You know, we feel good about it. Atlanta's always been a good place for me, and both cars have been running good the last 2 or 3 weeks, so I feel good about it.
Okay, that's half of Team Penske. Jeremy Mayfield teams with Rusty Wallace. They both come from deep in the starting field.
And so the track drawing effort continues here at Atlanta, and before too long, we will get the green flag and the start of this race. Does John Andretti, as the pole sitter, have an advantage? Well, 10 of the 38 PrimeStar 500s have been won by the guy that started from inside row number 1. Back in a moment.
Yes, I do. And actually, I could go to the crew chief, who was one of his best friends that talked with him this morning. Yeah, that wouldn't work.
We can talk to the replacement driver's brother.
You want me to hang? I'm going to hang with Jimmy here, okay? Well, I'm hanging with Spencer for the interview for this next segment. Then I'll go get the other guy.
Who are we going to first, Neil, you think? Oh, okay. All right. Back at Atlanta Motor Speedway, standing by for the start of the PrimeStar 500 NASCAR Winston Cup race. As you can see there on your left, the cars are on pit road ready to go, and you can see also where the track is dry. Those gray areas, light gray areas on the track, it's dry, but down at the very apron of the track, Benny, on the low side, it's not quite racy yet.
No, it's still a little damp. There's so much humidity in the air. They've been trying to dry this racetrack for about 3 hours now, and there's simply so much humidity in the area, it just will not dry. These vehicles have been going around trying their best, and we can see in the corners that it's almost dry, but almost with these race cars is just not good enough.
The track you are looking at is 1.54 miles in length after the reconfiguration. This is the second race under that new reconfiguration. The front stretch is 1,415 feet long, the back stretch 1,320, and good banking in the corners.
Say 24 degrees and 5 degrees on the straightaway, so the water will at least run off the straightaways down in the infield.
We talked with some of the younger drivers. Now let's talk to a veteran who has qualified third fastest for this event. Here's Jack Arute.
Well, Bob, consider the fact that NASCAR selected their top 50 drivers of all time, and his car owner really accounted for a lot of their careers. Junie Dunleavy under the weather back in Richmond, Virginia. But this is Dick Trickle, America's favorite. If you've got a favorite driver, if he falls out, they always pull for you. What about this newfound muscle with the Heilig Myers team? Where have you found all this, Dick?
Well, you know, I think it's a team effort. You know, Tom Ball came on board, and we got a lot of good players. You know, Jeff Kirk's the team manager. What we're doing is this is a new team coming along. You know, Junie Dunleavy's the owner forever, and he's a respected owner. And of course, we're optimistic that he's going to be right back as good a shape as he's ever been. But you know, we're a team on the roll, and I really believe that we're in line to win a race. Heilig Myers has given us moral and financial support like you can't believe. I just think it's good communication, and we're looking forward to the year 2000, and I think we're going to give some people a good ride.
Now, you've won as it begins to really trickle down here in the rain. You've won over 1,000 short track races all over the Midwest. What would a Winston Cup victory mean to Dick Trickle? You got your Busch Grand National victory last year.
Well, that would just put a cap on my career, but, you know, it wouldn't stop there, because I think you're hungry for the second one. But you got to win one to know you've got the ingredients, the right team, the right owner, the right personnel, the right chassis, engines, whatever. And we've got all that. And we've got PowerTech builds our motors, and they do a super job. You know, we run on multiple chassis, you know, trying to work that out. I mean, we've got the personnel. We've got some good players, some old players, some new players. And I'm just a young team with a young team coming up.
You know, maybe we could call this segment the short track segment, Jerry. You've got Mr. Excitement with you from New England.
Gentlemen, Jimmy Spencer, Mr. Excitement. They called him after all those wild short track years up in the modified ranks. And Jimmy, talking about the Cinderella season for Rusty Wallace, you guys have had a great beginning in 1998. 2 top 10 finishes. You're currently 4th in the points.
Well, thanks, Jerry. I tell you, Team Winston's been working really hard. Donnie Winger, the crew chief, and all the guys back in the shop built a lot of race cars. Peter Gow, Pro Motors, and his whole staff's done a great job. And I can't say enough about being together for so long. We've been together for 3 years now, and that's got a lot to do with it, Jerry. You know, you understand one another. You know what one another likes. They know what I like in a race car. And they was on a pretty stringent program this winter, working out. Our pit stops have just been phenomenal. And hopefully we can keep this up.
Jimmy, with just a handful of laps, so most of the guys have had in practice this week, you're talking about this race today being a roll of the dice, somewhat of a gamble. It's going to take courage and reckless abandon to be able to win it. That describes Jimmy Spencer to me.
I used to play golf that way, Jerry. And I learned not to be so reckless with that golf ball, and you score a lot lower score. So I think that today is going to be very critical, because it's an important race with the new provisionals coming on next week at Darlington, 2 weeks at Darlington. I think you need to get a good finish if we do get this race in. Reckless abandonment, I don't think that's the way to go. I think you need to use your head. There's no question. We have a good race car. We have a good setup for here. We feel like we can come out here with a top 10, and who knows what will happen when you get down to the last 50 miles of this race.
Hey, with the wind picking up, you better hold on to that umbrella. You may end up being a Mary Poppins. Good luck to you today, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jerry, and hopefully we get this thing in. The good Lord, he works in mysterious ways. If he decides we're going to race, we'll race. If he doesn't, we don't.
I totally agree. Gentlemen, Jimmy Spencer will roll off 11th today inside of row 6. Let's check in with Bill.
5 Pontiacs inside the top 19. Derek Cope starts 19th after a great run here last November. You were one of the guys fired up about coming here.
Definitely. We were really strong last year, and feel like that we got the same thing here in this Pontiac here. You know, we got a lot of folks watching us, you know, Gum Mountain, Degree, and Suave, and Jimmy Dean, Brian Foods, so we really make a good effort here. You know, we've had a little bit of bad luck, but if we could shake them here, we'd have a good start.
You were in a different Pontiac last year. You drive for Chuck Ryder and Bahari this year in this Gum Out ride. Does any of last year transfer to this car for you?
I think a bit does. Yeah, obviously we're in the Pontiac, so I think we can correlate some things from last year, but obviously with the new rules that have been implemented with the Air Dam 5 and 5, you know, cars got a little bit of a different feel. So, you know, we've made a few adjustments for that with no practice. So, again, it's a guess. So, we'll see what happens.
If we get started, do you have to get to the front in the hurry because of the weather?
I don't think so. I think that we can just, you know, plug along. I think the car is really fairly quick. It felt really stable. So, if we can stay on the bottom and move up and wait and see what happens, there's going to be a 25-lap, you know, pit stop early. So, we'll get a good feel for what's happening there, and then we'll have to see what happens with the weather.
I talked to Derek on Thursday. He couldn't wait for the green flag to fall here. He rolls off 19th.
Derek, of course, drives a Pontiac, and before Rockingham, 2 races ago, Pontiac had recorded 9 straight top 3 finishes. However, in the last 2 races, the Pontiac has not been in the top 10. There's the Interstate Batteries Pontiac that will be driven by Bobby Labonte. We'll be right back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations.
You coming back to the booth? Should I?
Then I will need my coat. Don't. Sorry.
Button your shirt.
I wanted to. I don't have a button. I pulled it off when I was putting this on.
Here, Bob.
Yes. Okay, good.
Well,
shucks, huh? Like they just about lost the track.
it's still a little light. It looks like it's coming this way.
And Ed said when that mountain disappeared.
Yeah. What mountain?
It's almost gone. That's right. What mountain? Yes, sir. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Crash? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was here. Okay. 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 We welcome you back to Atlanta Motor Speedway, where optimism was high. However, it has started to rain again in the last few minutes. Now, there will be racing here on ABC this afternoon at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, scheduled time right now. The International Race of Champions, first race of '98 from Daytona, with top drivers from NASCAR, the Indy Racing League, kart and road racing. Drivers like Jeff Gordon, Ari Lyondike, Al Unser Jr. That'll be at 5 o'clock Eastern Time here on ABC, or possibly it could be a little earlier if there is a weather delay here at Atlanta. So just stay tuned to ABC all afternoon and catch the International Race of Champions. Well, one car and driver that is not in the field for this event is that driven by Steve Park. There was a crash not too long before the end of practice on Friday.
Something happened to the right front of Steve Park's Pennzoil Chevrolet. You see heavy contact twice, and then contact to get on the outside wall. He'll go across the grass to the infield towards pit road, and he's going to run into infield pit wall. You can see the damage to both sides of that car. And Steve Park was taken out of that car and taken to the hospital. And Jerry Punch will update us with his injury. Jerry?
Well, Benny, of course, Steve Park, we mentioned he had a broken right femur. That's a large bone in the upper part of the right leg, the thigh bone, basically. And that has been operated on at Georgia Baptist Hospital. They put a plate and screws in to fix that. He should be able to heal within 2 to 3 months. He also broke his right shoulder blade and his left clavicle or collarbone. Now, Tommy Baldwin Jr. is one of Steve Park's best friends in racing. In fact, you were Steve's crew chief up in the modified ranks when he won 7 races and sat on the pole 10 times. You saw Steve yesterday in the hospital and visited for a while last night. What did he tell you?
Well, he didn't really say much. He's in a lot of pain right now, Jerry, and
you know, he's pretty broken up. I think his heart's just as much as broken right now as his bones are. He's a pretty strong cat. I think he'll be back probably about 4 or 5 months. I just hope everybody that's with him is not going to rush him and let him go 100% when he's ready. And he'll be all right. You know, I want to let everybody know back home that, you know, he is hurt, but he'll be fine.
I know his mom and dad, Bob and Dottie Park, are with him there at his bedside, and the good news with him, he was moved out of intensive care today to a regular room so he possibly could watch our telecast on ABC. Now, did he tell you specifically what he thought might have happened to the car entering turn 3?
Well, he said something definitely broke in the right front and, you know, right front area, the suspension or something, and, you know, he felt the car drop a little bit, and after he hit the wall the first time, I think he got blacked out right then. You know, he's got a bunch of good guys working in that car. I don't know what broke, but hope everything's going to be right with him.
All right. Well, Steve Park watching in the hospital. Keep your spirits high. The bones will heal, and he will definitely be back on a good note. Now, even a better note, let's check in with a story that some guys are pretty happy about what's happened for them today. Let's check in with the Todd Bodine team.
Well, Jerry, when Todd Bodine and his Tabasco team came to Daytona, they went with high hopes and aspirations. They didn't qualify. They went to Rockingham, same problem. To Las Vegas, they rolled the dice and they crapped out. But you came here and you showed people, Todd, that this team is for real. You got the car in the hot zone outside of the front row. How'd you do it?
Well, I tell you, Jackie, you know, we came down here last fall. We tested twice here, and we came down for the race, and we were one of the fastest cars in practice. And unfortunately, when we went out to qualify, we ran through some water that the car before me had left down, and car slipped up, and we didn't make the race. But we had a good car. We knew coming back here we had the same race car. We're going to put the same setup in it. If everything went right, we'd be fast again, and sure enough, we were fast. In practice, we had a problem with the fuel pump. The car wouldn't run down the straightaways, but our corner speeds were fast. So we knew we had a good car if we could get that fixed, and Mark and the boys fixed it, and here we are outside front row. It's pretty amazing to know that you went home from the first 3 races and to come back to sit outside front row, and it just shows you what the team's made of, what these guys are all about. You know, they never gave up. Our sponsor, Tabasco, they've been behind us, supporting us the whole time, and, you know, don't worry about it. We know you guys are good. We'll get this together, and, you know, we got a lot of little problems that we got to fix, but it's nothing that's major. It's basically just because it's a new team, and with new teams and new franchises, you're going to have problems, you know, and we got to learn those problems and fix them as we go.
We talked to Bob Cuneo, who's come on board from the bobsled fame, from Jeff Bodine's fame, engineers, kind of works on things behind the scenes, and he brought up a point, chemistry. How important is it for a brand new team?
Well, it's everything. It's everything for any team. You look at the best teams in this garage area, and they have the best chemistry. You know, Jeff Gordon, Ray Everham, Rusty Wallace, and Robert Pemberton. These people, they live, breathe, and sleep all this stuff together, and they understand each other's thoughts. And, you know, that was one thing with Pat and myself. We knew we'd have a little learning process with each other, but we were friends for a long time, and we knew each other. We knew each other's habits and the way we thought, and we thought that was going to help us.
Is there a comparison when you could go cold and you can't hit the rim with a brick? What you went through 3 races in a row, failing to qualify, does it play tricks on your mind?
It can if you let it. The whole key is to not let it. You know, this is a tough business. Every week somebody's got to go home. We all do our best. We come here, work hard, and sometimes you do go cold. You just hit the backboard and never goes in the rim. And that's kind of what happened to us. You know, at Daytona we had a good car and we got crashed out of the 125s. We had a good car at Rockingham second round. It just didn't go fast enough. And Las Vegas, we just messed up. So we came back here with high hopes and knew we had a good car, and we're going to put Tabasco at the front of the pack where they belong.
Bobby's on the front row, and before I throw it back, I got to tell you the story. He was the only driver that wasn't out on pit road getting ready to get in the cars. He said, I know it's going to rain, and I'll tell you what, I always knew he was the smartest of the 3 Bodine brothers.
He mentioned Kuhn. That refers to Bob Cuneo, who's the engineer on his team. He's with the team for the first time this year because he's been over at the Winter Olympics. He was also the engineer on the U.S. bobsled team. Well, Dale Jarrett won this race a year ago, and the last driver to win back-to-back Atlanta Spring races was Cale Yarborough in '68 and '69. Bill?
Oh, he's going to be thrilled to hear that. The last guy to win this race back-to-back was Cale, and we were both kids back then.
Yeah, I drove for Cale, so I don't know if that's any help, but I do remember. Yeah, I know last year that the Tar Heels won the ACC championship, and I won this race on the same day, so I was kind of hoping we'd get to run because they're getting ready to beat Duke again.
Well, this looks like a Duke blue to me, DJ.
No, you're wrong. It's just, I have to wear this for our sponsor, Ford Quality Care and Ford Credit. I have the light blue stuff up there.
Okay. Obviously, you want to get to victory lane here, at least get a top 5, get some points, climb up that ladder.
Yeah, we've got to get some points, that's for sure. Rough start, and we're doing what we can. We've had a good race car for 3 races, and that's the encouraging thing. And I know that I'm going to have a good one here. Although I'm like everybody else, I don't really know that for sure. We don't know what anybody's got, but it should be an interesting race whenever we run.
Is there an advantage to starting up front when you really don't know what you've got?
Yeah, I think that it is, because that gives me the opportunity to kind of get down in, get going, and kind of run the race that I want to run. If the car's not exactly right, I can back off a little bit and be okay. I'm not in the middle of, 15 cars and everybody going around me. So hopefully, we can get close and I'll be all right up front. But we all want to wish Steve Park the best. We know that he's watching. Steve, hate that it happened, man. These things happen. You'll come back from it and win a lot of races very soon. And just want you to know our prayers are with you.
Okay, good luck when we get this thing started.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Hang in there, Steve. Back up top.
Well, quite honest about the weather, it's raining very hard at this time. It's very windy, and we've also seen some thunder and lightning in the area. So right now, our optimism has been dampened somewhat. However, we will come back with more from Atlanta Motor Speedway as we await, hopefully sometime later this afternoon, the PRIMESTAR 500. A good indication of how the weather has really deteriorated here in the last 15 or 20 minutes. Even some fog, heavy rain now moving in. And we had almost gotten the track dry and ready to go, and Ricky Rudd and the other drivers were almost in their cars set to go, and then the rain moved in once again.
Yeah, very sad. You can see the racetrack we showed you about 15 minutes ago. You can see the light part of the racetrack. Well, that light part has gone away. It's now completely damp. Once again, the trucks continue to go around the racetrack, trying not to lose the track completely. In case it were to stop raining, NASCAR would certainly try to get this thing started.
Well, John Saunders, we are going to stay here, and if we have any update, we'll certainly get it back to you. And if you need us, you let us know. But right now, I think the best thing to do is just to send it back to you at our Wide World of Sports studio in New York for alternate programming. John?
All right, guys, thanks a lot. So stay by the
rookie to win a pole in the last 4 PRIMESTAR 500s. Robbie Gordon on the outside of the front row, Mark Martin. Row number 2 in his 50th Atlanta start is Darrell Waltrip and Dick Trickle, who has some of his best finishes at this track. Hud Strickland has his best Atlanta start, and Lake Speed has his best start since the 1996 Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis. Ted Musgrave is looking for his first top 10 of 97, and Jeff Bodine is looking for his 3rd straight top 10. Row number 5, Dale Jarrett. He has led the most laps in the last 2 races, and on the outside of row 5 is Kenny Wallace.
Inside row 6, Billy Standridge, his best career start, and Jimmy Spencer on the outside. Row 7, we'll find Ricky Craven. Jeremy Mayfield finished 5th here last year. Back in row 8, Bill Elliott. 5 times he's won in Atlanta. Rick Mast on the outside. In row 9, Ernie Irvin, won here in 1989. ARCA 200-mile race brought him to prominence. And Bobby Hamilton, the King's car, on the outside. David Green will start inside row 10, and Sterling Marlin on the outside.
In the 11th row, Morgan Shepherd. 3 of his 4 career wins have been here, and defending series champ Terry Labonte. Jeff Gordon has his lowest start since April of '94, and Mike Skinner alongside in the 12th row. 13th row, Ricky Rudd and Dale Earnhardt. Row number 14, Jeff Burton and Greg Sachs, and in the 15th row, Bobby Labonte and Kyle Petty.
16th row, Michael Waltrip, driving with Wood Brothers, won 12 times here. Chad Little on the outside. John Andretti, Gary Bradbury back in row 17. Kenny Schrader, he's won here. Ward Burton in row 18. Row 19, we find the Wallace brothers. Mike on the inside, Rusty on the outside. Back in the 20th row, Steve Grissom, Johnny Benson, and Brett Bodine, Joe Nemechek, the last row.
The last 4 drivers took provisional starts to get into this field. The drivers who unfortunately did not make the field, number 7, Robert Presley, Derek Cope, Bobby Hillen, Wally Dallenbach, Ed Barrier, Dave Marcus, and Mike Miller. Dale Earnhardt has started 20th or worst here at Atlanta several times. He started 31st in March of 1980, but look, he won the race. In March of 91, he started 21st and finished 3rd. In November of 94, he was 30th, so it really doesn't make any difference where Dale Earnhardt starts on this track. He usually is very competitive. We're just about set for the green flag and 328 laps of competition in the PRIMESTAR 500. The green flag is out. Gordon has never led a competitive NASCAR Winston Cup lap. He brings his car off corner number 4, and he will make that right now. He leads the first lap.
And Hut Trickle leads red number 8 car on the inside of Darrell Waltrip, and there goes a pass for the lead. Mark Martin, the Valvoline Ford, blows by Gordon to take over the number 1 spot.
Gordon got a good jump at the start of the race and led lap number 1, but now Mark Martin takes command as the field begins to sort out behind. The 16 car of Ted Musgrave is on the move. He's worked up to 6th position. This is the PRIMESTAR onboard camera. We're looking ahead to Darrell Waltrip, who has dropped back a position.
Tim Musgrave, we hear the accelerator back off as he goes in the corner. Cannot run these cars wide open around the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And we see Kenny Wallace, the square D car on the inside of Bodine.
There is Lake Speed, Jimmy Spencer, Dale Jarrett also in this group of cars. Jeff Bodine and Kenny Wallace race side by side now. Bodine pulls ahead briefly, but Kenny Wallace fights back on the inside.
That's Ernie Irvin in the 28 car in front of the 37 of Jeremy Mayfield, and Irvin going to the outside of Spencer.
That red number 9 car there, driven by Lake Speed, had an incident in the pit area before happy hour yesterday with Billy Standridge and damaged the car a little bit. Not enough to go to a backup car. So Lake Speed has an original starting position.
And we see Dale Jarrett going into the 6th spot.
Meanwhile, it looks like that Mark Martin has pulled several car lengths ahead. The battle is for 3rd position. That's Hut Strickland, the Circuit City car, number 8, to the inside of Dick Trickle, and takes over 3rd spot.
Ernie Irvin still trying to make his way to the front, gets by Spencer. Now tries to get on the inside of Lake Speed, can't do it.
Now he tries it once again, and he'll be more successful this time coming off the 2nd corner. Got a good run there. Very long corners here at Atlanta. The straightaways total a half a mile, whereas the long sweeping 1st and 2nd and 3rd and 4th corners total a mile. So you're mostly in a corner here. Napa Field summary will show you where everyone is running at the moment, and the numbers in parentheses indicate where they started. Dale Jarrett is on the move. He moves into 4th position, putting Dick Trickle back to 5th. But there's quite a bit of racetrack between Dale Jarrett and the next place car of Hut Strickland, running in 3rd position.
Right now, folks, the man on the move is Dale Earnhardt. There we saw the 37 just a moment ago. Jeremy Mayfield, Earnhardt already by him. Earnhardt in 14th spot to go into 13th as he gets by Jimmy Spencer.
He started in 26th position. Now, you heard documented he had the 43rd fastest speed during 1st round of qualifying, but he came back yesterday to set the fastest 2nd round qualifying mark and started 26th. But he has already found 13 positions since the drop of the green flag. There's the defending NASCAR Winston Cup champion of the number 5 car, Terry Labonte, and here is Ernie Irvin making a move. back in 13th position. As Earnhardt continues his march to the front here, he gets to the inside of Lake Speed.
Boy, Earnhardt's car is looking so good. Comes off the corner. Seems like he's able to take the car to the bottom of the racetrack with ease.
There's the interval from that car back to the leader. Robbie Gordon is staying right with the leader of the race, Mark Martin. Just a couple of car lengths separate the first two. 9 laps out of 328 completed here at Atlanta.
Coverage of last year's PrimeStar 500. Apparently still problems with the rain there in Atlanta. Let's join Bob Jenkins to bring us up to date.
John, it has officially been postponed. We almost had the racetrack dry, then came the shower, which turned into more like a thunderstorm and has really wet the track beyond the point that they could get it dry in time to run an entire 500-mile race. So we're going to do it tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and you can see live coverage of it over on ESPN. The PrimeStar 500 from Atlanta Motor Speedway tomorrow at 11 o'clock. So let's send it back to John Saunders now in our Wide World of Sports studio in New York.
All right, Bob, thanks a lot. So the race is done for today, but we are not. We still have the International Race of Champions coming away at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, and also the 97th PrimeStar 500. Back with more of that in a moment. Welcome back to our Wide World of Sports studios. I'm John Saunders. Still to come, 5 o'clock Eastern Time, the International Race of Champions. The PrimeStar 500, this year's edition, has been postponed. They'll run it tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern. You can see that on ESPN. But right now, more coverage of the 97 PrimeStar 500.
And at the PrimeStar 500, you saw just as we went to break from Mark Martin's onboard camera, Robbie Gordon pass and retake the lead. And now the first four are very close together. And let's take a look at how Robbie got by Mark.
Mark Martin goes in the corner, drifts up just a little bit. Robbie Gordon turned the Chevrolet under, comes off the corner, takes the lead.
And Jerry Punch has more.
When that happened, Mark Martin cued the radio and said 3 words: I almost wrecked. The crew came back and said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" He said, "The car is very, very loose entering the corner."
Well, he hangs on to second position, but Hutch Strickland and Dale Jarrett are right there on his back bumper. We're watching Jeff Gordon move up through the field. He is currently in 18th position in the number 24 car.
Started in 23rd spot. There we see all the cars that he just has passed. There we see Morgan Shepherd in the 1 car as Bill Elliott goes by on the outside. Jeremy Mayfield, the white and blue 37, and Kenny Wallace, the 81 car. Ricky Rudd comes into this battle. And there's the car they say is the fastest. The green car on the inside. Bobby Labonte, the winner here last November.
Well, Labonte was fastest in the first practice period that they had here prior to the first round of qualifying. Did not qualify all that well, but the car appears to be racing well today. Morgan Shepherd goes under Kenny Wallace in the backstretch, and now here comes Bobby Labonte to do the same. Up front, meanwhile, we've got some more close racing.
See Hutch Strickland and Dale Jarrett as they try to close in, running on board with Jarrett. Looks like he's got a piece of paper in the area that the air goes into the carburetor.
It's a windy day here in Atlanta, and we're going to see perhaps some hot dog wrappers and such forth from the grandstand on the racetrack. Here's a battle between Bobby Hamilton in car 43 and Jeff Bodine in number 7. That's the battle for 10th position.
And you see Terry Labonte right in front of those cars. And it looks like right now that Labonte might be gaining on Dale Earnhardt.
Labonte started back in 22nd position, is up to 9th.
There we see the defending NASCAR Winston Cup champion, Terry Labonte.
Labonte, after starting 22nd by the 3rd lap, it moved up to 17th, stayed there for a few laps, and moved to 14th and 12th, and is currently in 9th position. So, Benny, we are seeing already those thunderstorms rumbling as some of the drivers who didn't qualify all that well are moving up toward the front.
Yes, they are going towards the front. There we see Jeff Gordon taking another spot away as he goes by Jimmy Spencer.
And that's Darrell Waltrip there in the number 17 car. Here's a side-by-side battle. Jeff Burton and Jeff Bodine.
And Jeff Burton trying to take that spot away. Looks like he will take it as they come off the corner. Gordon taking a look on the inside of Waltrip.
Waltrip had expressed hope that the car, after qualifying in third position, could stay there for the first part of the race, but he has backslidden now to the 13th position. Gordon takes a look to the inside and tries to take that spot away from him.
On the pole on the screen, you'll see the speed that each car ran the last time by. Our leader, 171.708 average speed. Mark Martin a little bit faster than that. The 8 car, Hut Strickland, faster than that. And Ernie Irvin wasn't fast, the fastest car.
Yes, he was. Ernie Irvin there in 6th position had the fastest lap. That last one that we timed. Here, Earnhardt and Terry Labonte. Labonte with a good run. Earnhardt currently occupying 8th. Labonte was catching and now has caught Earnhardt, but passing him is another story.
Well, yesterday afternoon in the last practice, the 5-car Metallica car blew an engine, but the team did not seem to be overly concerned about that. If the car was not right, had they been concerned, there would have been a lot of apprehension in their face. They laughed and joked about it, so that meant that their car was okay. And he's proven today that it is okay as he continues towards the front.
The team took it very philosophically, saying, well, it's better to happen during happy hour, the final practice period, than during the race itself. Labonte now looking low, Dale Earnhardt, but not able to make the move at the moment.
Racetrack, Terry Labonte up on the top of the racetrack. Two entire different lines around the corners. This Atlanta Motor Speedway, very, very wide corners, and the drivers can run a variety of places around the racetrack. If the car doesn't handle on the bottom, they can go to the top or vice versa.
Gordon continues to lead now with about a 2 or 3 car length advantage on Mark Martin. Hut Strickland still running in 3rd spot, and Dale Jarrett is in 4th.
And Jarrett has lost a couple of car lengths from the picture we saw just a couple of laps ago. Ever see Darrell Waltrip come by?
Darrell Waltrip has fallen back to 12th position, Jerry.
We heard Mark Martin say his car was loose entering the corner. Darrell has the opposite problem. His car is tight from the middle of the corner coming out, which means he turns the steering wheel and the car doesn't want to turn. But a moment ago, Darrell radioed in and said, hey, this upper line, the high line is coming in. I've moved up high, and I've picked up quite a bit of speed running up near the wall. Let's check in with Jackaroo.
And Jerry, that choice by Waltrip of an upper line did not go unmissed by Jeff Gordon. He radioed to Ray Evernham and said, does the high line work yet? And all Evernham said is, the only guy that's doing it is Waltrip. Jeff said, well, I'll try it. The problem, though, for this team right now is the fact that the car is tight almost all the way around the racetrack, Benny.
And we can see that Darrell Waltrip is, a moment ago we saw Jeff Gordon trying to pass Darrell Waltrip just a few laps ago. And now Waltrip has pulled off to a 15, 20 car length advantage on Jeff Gordon. So yes, the high group is working well for Darrell Waltrip.
Plenty of rain in Atlanta. As a result, the PRIMESTAR 500 scheduled for this afternoon has been delayed. They'll make it up tomorrow. You can see it on ESPN Live at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. And we'll still continue with more coverage of the PRIMESTAR 97 500 in a moment. And don't forget, the International Race of Champions comes your way at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 Pacific. Well, it's done in the SEC. Kentucky looking for yet another one. This would be their 21st overall. facing South Carolina, a team they dominated this year. Saul Smith with the miss. Alan Edwards goes up, gets the rebound, knocks it down, the jumper. It's a 10-point lead at that point. Wayne Turner then comes up with this steal. Ahead to Alan Edwards, to Michael Bradley, and they move the ball nicely for the jam. And Kentucky, you know, they do it inside, they do it outside as well. There's Padgett knocking down a three. Eddie Fogler just did not have this team's number as he did a year ago. And then for Kentucky, the young Canadian, Jamal McGlure with the block. And then they move it around to Alan Edwards. And Edwards will finish the play as Kentucky at that point led it by 16 points. And they romp to the victory in this one. They win it by 30, 86-56. Their 6th SEC title in 7 years. And their 21st overall. And of course, as we mentioned, the PrimeStar 500 for today has been postponed until tomorrow. So right now, let's take you back to more standby programming. It's the PrimeStar 500 from a year ago. We'll be with you throughout the day to update all of the college basketball and sporting news. Now to PrimeStar 97.
From his face cam, you can see the current leader of the PrimeStar 500 here in Atlanta and the pole sitter, Robbie Gordon. From Cerritos, California, over from the CART PPG Open Wheel Series and making his mark today in NASCAR Winston Cup competition.
Well, I tell you what, it's like it's so easy. Just turn the car into the corner. Easy. And we look behind. There's Mark Martin as he looks back at Hutch Strickland. We're riding along with the second-place car.
Just missing the air bad enough for everybody behind him. It's just hard to pass.
And Ernie Irvin goes by Dick Trickle, takes over the 5th spot. So now we have the Yates cars. Dale Jarrett and Ernie Irvin running 4th and 5th.
For you. Ernie Irvin started 17th. He's now moved up to 5th position. Here in the second 5, you can see some real good movements. Earnhardt from 26th to 2nd. Terry Labonte from 22nd up into the top 10. And Jeff Gordon has improved his positions also.
And we see that Terry Labonte had caught Dale Earnhardt. Looks like he was going to go by him and go on, but now he's caught Earnhardt, and either Earnhardt changed his line or these cars both have slowed down.
There is Ted Musgrave.
He's their 9th place car. Rusty Wallace still back in the 35th spot, not able to make a huge charge towards the front.
Here's the group that includes Jeff Bodine, Darrell Walsh, Bill Elliott, the home state favorite, who is from Dawsonville here. And behind Bill Elliott is Jeff Burton, who started 27th.
And look at Elliott dive down on the inside, see if he can do something on the bottom of the racetrack. Can't work, doesn't work for him. Actually lost his spot in the car link to Walter.
Bobby Labonte is losing positions now. He was one of the fastest cars out there, has been all weekend as a matter of fact, but is now backslidden a little bit. There's Ricky Rudd and Jimmy Spencer running side by side, and Morgan Shepherd looking on in the number 1 car.
That's 18th, 19th, 20th. And right now, the racetrack just does not seem to be the place to run.
Yeah, it looks like that high line that Bill Waltrip is using, among others, is the place to be at the moment. Bobby Labonte, there he is running behind Michael Waltrip. Bill, what's the problem with Labonte? He's lost some positions recently.
But he's very happy with his car. He knows he's got one of the fastest cars here. He has told his crew that this track is extremely slick. So right now, he just wants to take his time. He doesn't want to get in any trouble this early in the race. He's happy with the car. It's the track he's not real thrilled about right now.
What a tremendous celebration and what a tremendous scene in the world of sports. Last November, when Bobby Labonte drove to the victory here at this race, in the same race that Terry Labonte won the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship. Let's check the speeds out here on this lap. We'll see if our suspicion of Ernie Irvin being one of the fastest drivers out there is...
right now, he's just a little bit slower than the leader, Robbie Gordon.
But second fastest, yeah.
But both those cars, only the two cars in the 170-mile-per-hour range. And Jeff Gordon trying to get by the 43 car of Hamilton. Goes by on the outside. Bill Elliott all of a sudden was trying to pass Darrell Walter. He's now losing spots.
3 wide. Here is Ernie Irvin moving by his teammate Dale Jarrett and taking over the 4th position.
Just look at those two speeds, the 28 and the 88. Last time the 28 was 170 miles per hour. He lost 2.5 miles per hour that time by passing another car, because you just simply can't use the whole racetrack here when there's another car that's inside or outside of you, and you can see just how much it slows down when you start trying to pass other cars.
We'll check the speeds again this lap and see how they compare. Should be a little faster, right, Benny?
It ought to be. 169.3, still not quite as fast as the leader and Mark Martin.
But now Dale Jarrett makes a challenge to the outside of Irvin, but now settles back in behind him.
We'll check this one more time. Now, the last time he might have lost some of the speed as he passed Dale Jarrett off turn 4. This has been a good, clean lap all by himself. Here comes the leaders off the corner. There's Robbie Gordon as he goes by, starts the clock. And yes, we see both the 28 and 88, well, the 8 and 28 this time faster than the leaders. And Hut Strickland was the fastest car that time. Actually, we go back to the 10th place car was the fastest car.
Yep. Terry Labonte over 170, and also Darrell Waltrip. 43 laps completed out of 328 here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's Robbie Gordon, Mark Martin, Hut Strickland, Ernie Irvin, and Dale Jarrett. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to our Wide World of Sports studios. I'm John Saunders. As you know, rain has delayed the PrimeStar 500. They will make that up tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. The International Race of Champions comes your way at 5 Eastern right here. But right now, more of the 97 PrimeStar 500.
Back at Atlanta Motor Speedway, debris on the racetrack brings out the first caution flag today. 46 and 8, the top 3 cars in the pits. The 40, Robbie Gordon, top of your screen, left side tires going on. Likewise, the Valvoline Ford of Mark Martin, who had a problem. Gordon is out, Martin is out, now Strickland is down and away. The pit stop, the best one of the 3, Robbie Gordon, 19.9 seconds. Then Strickland, 20.4, and Martin, 22.5. A tire rolls out down toward the wall, and Jeff Bodine's car has come to a halt. There is a tire rolling around the concrete wall, guys, and a miscue here on the first pit stop of the day.
Looks like the left rear tire is off Jeff Bodine's car.
Yes, indeed. He backs up into his assigned stall, but the left rear is gone from Jeff Bodine's QVC Ford. Back to Jerry.
Well, he backs the car up. He's actually dragging on the axle, and the exhaust pipes are dragging. You're exactly right, Bob and Benny. The left rear tire came off. They dropped the jack, and now they put a pry bar underneath the left side of the car to try to pry the QVC Ford up. Oh, my, what a disappointment for Jeff Bodine with that great qualifying run, trying to follow up on that second-place finish last week at Richmond, Virginia. They still have not gotten the car off. They get help from the PrimeStar crew, and he will go a lap down here as the field comes by the start-finish line under the first caution of the day, the first round of pit stops, and Jeff Bodine will go 1 lap down as they get that left rear tire on, and the field passes by.
Tough break. Now we see there's some damage to the left rear fender, the left rear quarter panel. They're trying to bend that out because that will act as a parachute as he goes around the racetrack. It will catch air and slow the car considerably.
And still, Jeff Bodine sits on pit road, and everything that he had gained on the track goes by the wayside. He was running in 12th position when this caution for debris came out. So Bodine still waits as the track is under caution at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll take a break and be back in a moment.
From ABC's Wide World of Sports studio in New York, here's John Saunders.
And if you have just joined us, the PrimeStar 500 from Atlanta has been postponed. They'll make it up tomorrow, 11 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. But at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on ABC, the International Race of Champions. For more on that, let's join Paul Page.
John, still plenty of racing coming up this afternoon here on ABC Sports. We're at Daytona, and these 12 race cars are as equal and matched as man and modern engineering can make them. It's the International Race of Champions, where you eliminate the mechanical advantage and only the driver remains. And 12 of the best drivers in the sport are ready to challenge one another. That's coming up following the PrimeStar 500. Now, back to our Wide World of Sports studio.
And we'll find out who are the best drivers, at least this year, in the International Race of Champions. PrimeStar 1997. More coverage of that. We'll keep you up to date throughout the day.
Just as you rejoin us, you see the pace car pulling off the racetrack and the command from the spotter to go, go, go. The green waves again at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and we're back to competition on the 51st lap.
Inside, Billy Standridge. The lead of the race still Robbie Gordon. Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon trying to work their way towards the front. That's 11th spot.
Up front, meanwhile, it is Robbie Gordon still leading, but that's Dale Jarrett now running in second spot. Bud Strickland is third, and Jarrett moves to the inside of Gordon out in turn number 4. And as they come down the straightaway, Dale Jarrett is the leader of the race. It's incredible, but Dale Jarrett has led more than 50% of the total laps run entering this event, and he did not lead a single lap at Daytona. It gives you an indication of how well he has run in the last 2 races.
And right now, Jeff Bodine got alongside Robbie Gordon, moved Gordon up the racetrack, and now he's moved 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. The 7th car, QVC car, we saw this man go get a lap now. All the racing cars past Robbie Gordon for position.
An update on what happened during that disastrous pit stop of Jeff Bodine from Dr. Punch.
We're with Jeff's crew chief, Pat Tryson. And Pat, what happened during the pit stop?
We just had a little miscommunication. The rear tire changer wasn't on. The jack man lifted the jack down, and the tire came off when it came off pit road.
How bad's the car hurt? Anything bit in the back?
Seems like everything's all right. He hasn't said too much right now, but we're just waiting to hear. It seems like everything.
All right, the driver talking to Pat Tryson. Apparently it is only cosmetic damage as the Yates cars now show out first and second.
And we have side-by-side racing, almost 3 wide there at one time, as Earnhardt looked like he was going to go 3 wide, but did not. That's Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt. Here comes Michael Waltrip in the 21 car. Bill Elliott in there also. And we ride now with Michael Waltrip in the Citgo onboard camera.
And you see Kenny Schrader down to the inside, got a great run off the corner. Kenny Schrader currently in 16th spot.
And he started 35th. And Jeff Bodine's car is not operating. You see him there at the top of the racetrack, and nearly everyone is going by him. Dale Jarrett now is the leader. Back to Robert Yates. Cars are running first and second. Here's the battle for 3rd spot. Strickland, Jeff Burton, and Mark Martin along with Robbie Gordon. Here's the statistics on Dale Jarrett. Only driver to complete every lap run this season. Had led only 14 laps and 18 starts here at Atlanta. But he has the car out front here. And now we see this battle once again. Originally, this was for 1st and 2nd early in the race, and now it becomes a battle for the 5th position as Mark Martin has 5th and Robbie Gordon wants it.
And from Mark Martin's car, we look back at Robbie Gordon. And there's a battle for the 3rd spot. Jeff Burton takes it ahead off Huck Strickland. And the 99 car here last year in this race did not qualify for the PrimeStar 500.
He started 27th in this race. South Boston, Virginia driver is doing very well. Jeff Bodine is still having problems, Doc.
Well, indeed, Bob. He said the car now really vibrating on him. He thinks he may have a tire going down. He radioed and told the crew, I'll be in next time by. But he flashed by him on the racetrack. He is way off the pace with a vibration in the back of the car and possibly a tire going down.
Well, that car has help in the engine department this year from Bob Glidden, the legendary drag racer. He is helping not only the 7 car of Jeff Bodine, but also the 8 car of Hut Strickland. They're simply trying to provide more horsepower for the car. And not only Bob Glidden, but his 2 sons, Billy and Rusty, are here this week helping out.
And they're running an R&D program for Bodine. There we see Sterling Marlin in front of this pack, the 4 car. Looks like Greg Sachs right behind them. Yes, it is. There's Bradbury. There's Mike Wallace in the 91 car.
And this is the first race of the 97 season for Mike Wallace there in the 91 car sponsored by Spam. He failed to qualify for the first 3 events of this year. That's Brett Bodine in the number 11 car running behind him. And once again, we have a Hutch Strickland and Mark Martin battle. This is for 4th.
And the 24 car, Jeff Gordon, is off the pace. Gordon slows in turn 3 down on the apron of the racetrack.
The 1995 NASCAR Winston Cup champion and the current points leader. He won 2 of the first 3 races of the 97 season. But something has gone wrong with the DuPont Chevy. Bill?
And they've radioed for Jeff Gordon to come down pit road, waiting for Gordon to get to his pits. Haven't got a word on what the problem is, but as soon as we do, we'll relay it to you.
He's going behind the wall. He's not even stopping in his assigned pit area. He's taking the car behind the wall.
Look to the crowd as they make the noise. And yesterday afternoon, the 5 car lost an engine. Could it be the same problem? Bill Weber?
Right on, Benny. Said the motor just let go. He's got it behind the wall here. Hood is up. Told the crew the motor just simply let go. Jeff sits in the car. Window net's still up. They look under the hood. Now they lower the hood. Jeff Gordon, the points leader, on pit road behind the wall. Off come the gloves. Jeff removing the helmet. Very disappointed, obviously. Still sitting in the car. This car has been virtually bulletproof, the entire team for that matter. But here in Atlanta, this track may have gotten them today. And we've talked about how you have to be consistent to win the championship. Well, you know you're going to have trouble somewhere along the way. Today, Jeff Gordon has had some.
And there's so many statistics you could go over at this point. 3 consecutive top 5 finishes, including 2 wins. And led at least 1 lap in the last 4 races. And a 4.33 average finish in the last 6 races. But it looks like that Jeff Gordon's day may be over. The DuPont Chevy behind the wall, and it's being pushed behind the wall into, apparently, the garage area. So we'll take another break here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
And we hope you're enjoying coverage of the 1997 PrimeStar 500. The 98 version will be made up on Monday on ESPN. We'll have more after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
From ABC's Wide World of Sports studio in New York, here's John Saunders.
Don't forget, coming your way 5 o'clock Eastern Time, is the International Race of Champions. And also right now, a program reminder next weekend right here on ABC Sports. Join the U.S. national soccer team in a tune-up for the World Cup this summer as they take on Paraguay. Live at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on ABC. Coverage of the World Cup 98 starts June 13th on ABC. And Saturday, also here on ABC Sports, hit the road for the Visa Triple Crown Challenge. The first major test on the road to the Kentucky Derby, the Florida Derby, plus coverage of another 3-year-old race, the Swale Stakes. That's Saturday at 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific, right here on ABC. Right now, though, more coverage of the 1997 PrimeStar 500. We'll see you in a bit.
Jeff was able to manage a smile when he climbed from the DuPont Chevy. First of all, what happened?
Well, all you can do is smile about it. You know, there's always another day, and you know, it only takes a thing like this for us to really gonna have to fight back hard. But DuPont Chevrolet was running awesome today, and I really felt like we had a shot at it. We needed a pit stop. We got that. Worked on it a little bit, and we were marching our way to the front. Come off of turn 2 over there, man. The motor just grenade. I mean, it's a huge vibration explosion. But, you know, luckily it happened off the corner. We're going to look at it to see if it's the same that happened to Terry yesterday.
Obviously, that's something you'd want to check because he did lose a motor in final practice.
And it felt like it was a rod because I could tell it was coming out the bottom. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but hey, just can't ever quit. That just shows you those 2 wins and that 4th doesn't mean anything when something like this happens. So you know, we're gonna be strong and we're gonna fight all year long. And these are the things that happen, and we'll go to the next one and get after it.
You warned us, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I felt like everybody's making too big of a deal out of that, but it was sure nice. I'm glad we have those wins though, because it doesn't hurt us as bad. But you know, we'll be all right. Hendrick Motorsports builds the best engines, and I'm very confident in them. And they're making great horsepower out there, and we've been fortunate. And every once in a while, you got to blow one up.
All right, Jeff Gordon out of the race. Jackaroo.
Well, Bill River, during that last pit stop, the Yates team, both Dale Jarrett and Ernie Irvin, did not make any major chassis modifications to the car. No adjustments at all. But what's interesting is both drivers are getting somewhat different tire wear. For Ernie Irvin, the caution couldn't come at a better time because 2 laps before that, he radioed to his crew and said, "My tires have given out." But for Dale Jarrett, after the tires came off the car, they inspected him and said, "We're getting very, very good tire wear." As we watched the run, we noticed that Irvin closed to well within Dale Jarrett's lead positions. But now it's settled down. We're getting deeper into this window on tires, and Irvin's have begun to go away.
They indeed have, as Jeff Burton has come up to challenge Ernie Irvin for 2nd position. Just a couple of final notes on Jeff Gordon. First of all, if points were awarded right now, and of course we're a long way from the end of this race, he would slip to 4th in the point standings. And 1 make of each car will go to the wind tunnel after this race as NASCAR does a little testing, and his will be the Chevy that goes to the wind tunnel.
Check those speeds that we see that Dale Jarrett is the fastest car, 171.9. The 5 car, 172 miles per hour. So here comes Terry Labonte as he marches toward the front. Michael Waltrip, 171.5, and Michael is running about 200 yards around the racetrack, higher than anywhere else. Watch it, he goes in the corner, right up high off the corner, and tries to go by Earnhardt on the outside. What a difference in lines.
He's got a good run on Dale Earnhardt here on that high line. Let's see if he can take over that position in turn number 1.
Michael goes right to the top of the gray stuff. Now, he'll be able to get a grip off the corner that Earnhardt cannot get, and he will take that spot away.
That 7th position, Michael Waltrip is in 7th after starting in 31st position. But Earnhardt fights right back on the inside. Can't make the pass, though. Second place changes as Jeff Burton takes the number 99 car to the inside of Ernie Irvin and goes to the runner-up spot, now behind Dale Jarrett. Jeff Burton got off to such a great start last year, and then, as you mentioned, Benny, failed to qualify for this event. There is the leader of the race, Dale Jarrett. 7 top 3 finishes in his last 10 events, and has finished on the lead lap in the last 8 events, of course, going back to last season. Here comes Schrader, Elliott, and the new paint job on Ward Burton's car.
That's the 16th place car, Ward Burton. Something about a gold credit card, isn't it?
Yeah, NASCAR Gold MasterCard. Special edition to commemorate the introduction of the NASCAR Gold MasterCard and the Atlanta Speedway Gold MasterCard.
Dick Trickle, the 90 car, still running well. Right now, Trickle in 13th spot. This time when the cars come by, we'll put the interval between the leader and the rest of the cars all the way back to the 10th spot. We see that he has over a 2.5-second lead on Jeff Burton, and he has over a 9-second lead on Ronnie Gordon, the 40 car.
Gordon, after that restart from the caution that we had for debris on the racetrack, has fallen back to 10th position. and 9 seconds behind the leader. Here comes the AutoZone on-track interval, comparing laps 76 through 79, Jarrett and Burton, and the interval went from 2.1 to 2.6.
You see, let me just show you the point. 32.2, Jeff Burton. That's the one. That's the lap that just absolutely killed him. You can't do that. He lost 0.4 of a second that one lap, and he only lost 0.5 of a second, a half second in the 4 laps.
And look how consistent the lap is for Jarrett. 31.9, 31.8, 31.8, 31.8. Can't get much more consistent than that.
No. And
Ward Burton, Jimmy Spencer, and Morgan Shepherd here.
And the 5 car, Terry Labonte has just gone by Ernie Irvin, taking over the 3rd spot, so he continues his charge toward the front. But I think his feet's probably getting a little nervous right now because he has the same engine, should have the same engine in his car that he lost yesterday afternoon and that Jeff Gordon lost just a few laps ago.
Jack Root has another report on Ernie Irvin, who's now slipped back to 4th place.
Well, Bob, it's just a confirmation of what we suspected as we got deeper in here. I checked with Robert Yates. Robert said, indeed, the tires are beginning to go away again. He remarked, though, that because they did not make any changes, it was not unexpected. Planned for some changes in the next pit stop on Ernie Irvin's car.
Here's Bobby Labonte racing to the inside of Darrell Waltrip and going into 11th position. Waltrip back to 12th. Now Bobby Labonte has his sight set on Robbie Gordon, who's just a few car lengths away there in 10th.
Darrell still running that high line, goes to the corner high, continues through the corner. Robbie Gordon came off the corner in the middle of the racetrack, still running the bottom of the racetrack.
And both Labonte and Waltrip go up there and close in on Robbie Gordon.
Yes, so Robbie Gordon is getting a great education today on the art of driving a stock car at the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
He is young, but has a great future ahead of him in NASCAR Winston Cup racing. If he stays with it, the lead continues to be held by Dale Jarrett in the PRIMESTAR 500.
Welcome back once again to our Wide World of Sports studios. I'm John Saunders, and once again, the PRIMESTAR 500 has been postponed. They'll make it up tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can see that on ESPN. Coming up later today on ABC Sports at 5 o'clock, it's the International Race of Champions. Right now, standby programming, the 97 PRIMESTAR 500.
From the 1.52-mile Atlanta Motor Speedway, we welcome you back to coverage of the PRIMESTAR 500. 91 laps out of 328 completed, and the leader is Dale Jarrett. Jarrett is cruising along. Now, his teammate, we heard Jack Arute report that his teammate, Ernie Irvin's tires are going away. He's already fallen back to 4th position, but Jerry Punch, that's not the case with his teammate.
Not at all, Bob. You know, before that pit stop, Dale Jarrett had said the car was a little bit tight, meaning he was scrubbing off speed, trying to get the car to turn in the corners. To tell you how minute an adjustment can make a huge difference, they made a 1-pound air pressure change in the right rear and a 1-pound air pressure change in the left front and left rear. And DJ says now the car is perfect, and he is indeed checking out.
Rusty Wallace started this race back in 38th position. He was the slowest qualifier to get into the field. Right now, he is running in 26th position.
So he's gained 12 spots, but we would think that, you know, Rusty Wallace, if he's got the car to win the race, would be up in the top 10. So obviously, he is struggling today with his Miller Lite Ford. There we see is on the back bumper of Steve Grissom.
Rusty won the race just last weekend in Richmond, Virginia on the 3/4-mile track. Elevating himself to 10th in the point standings. There you see the top 10 and their makeup car. Jarrett and Burton are first and second in the Ford. Labonte has the best Chevy in third.
As we watch as Sterling Marlin makes the pit stop. And there's a great battle between the two guys at 10. Ward Burton in 22. Looks like Ted Musgrave in the 16 car. That's 18th, 19th, 20th.
Sterling Marlin is in the pits, Ben. He just went a lap down.
And they've changed 4 tires on the Kodak Film Chevrolet. As soon as these cars will go a lap down to the leaders, they will go in, and look, they're having trouble. They're looking on the rear of the car doing something.
Long pit stop for Sterling. Finally gets away, and this is going to drop him another lap down at least. Ted Musgrave, meanwhile, is running in 20th position. He was up in the top 10 before that first caution, but has dropped back here recently.
Yes, he has, and he tries to close in on the back bumper of the Pontiac, driven by Ward Burton. Goes to the inside and closes up and might take the spot away. Coming down the front stretch right in front of us. And there we go.
They're side by side, and finally Musgrave gets around Ward Burton and takes over the 18th spot.
There's John Andretti in the 98 car, Lake Speed in the 9 car.
John Andretti will celebrate his 34th birthday on Wednesday. We're riding along now with Ricky Craven, who's running currently in 20th spot. This is the 3rd member of the Rick Hendrick stable. Jeff Gordon already out of the race. Terry Labonte is running 4th. And Ricky Craven is running in 20th position. Ricky started 13th, so he has lost 7 spots since the drop of the green flag. Now he comes up on Ward Burton. And there's Johnny Benson.
Yeah, well, Johnny Benson took a provisional to get in the show today. Started way back in 40th spot.
And Jack has an update on Sterling Marlin.
Well, Bob, Sterling Marlin had to come in because he had no choice. The rear sway bar had vibrated loose, and the car was just unmanageable. I asked the team if they fixed it, and they said, we hope so.
He had only run 42 laps since his last stop before that problem occurred. He now finds himself 2 laps down in the 39th position. But the car seems to be running well now.
Well, with those fresh tires, he's going to be the fastest car on the racetrack by far for a few laps as he's blown by Kyle Petty's Pontiac. But in about 5 or 10 laps, then he'll start losing that advantage he has with the new tires. Brand new tires, cold tires, are so much faster here at this racetrack than the hot used ones.
Dale Jarrett continues to lead. He's lapping Gary Bradbury, or trying to lap Gary.
Right now, Bradbury 32nd spot.
So with the pass, there are now 31 cars on the lead lap as 100 laps have been completed. There's the interval back to 2nd position, and it's held by Jeff Burton. And we have a crash involving Greg Sachs.
Over in turns 1 and 2, that's down on the apron of the racetrack between 1 and 2. He receives back the car in the corner.
And the caution is out, although Greg Sachs continues to move around the Speedway. But for the 2nd time this afternoon here on the 103rd lap, the caution comes out, and here is Brett Bodine in car number 11, passing the leader and trying to get the lap back, and he does. He is back on the lead lap.
Both he and Gary Bradbury both were able to get back on the lead lap, and there we see the damage to the Hardee's Ford of Greg Sachs.
Sachs bringing the car into the pit area, dropping down off the banking on turn number 4. Here's the shot that we have of the crash. He's already come in contact with the wall. It looked like that was right ahead of Sterling Marlin.
Looked like Sterling Marlin had gotten under the 20 car. They might have been some contact.
Yeah, the report is that there's smoke coming from the 4 car, so that could indicate that there was indeed contact between Sachs and Marlin. Oh, quite a bit of damage there on the right front.
Yeah, we see the damage to the right front. There it is. And the right front tire is rubbing the fender. I don't think there's a lot of damage to the 4-car, but it might affect it aerodynamically.
So that 5-second lead that Dale Jarrett had built up on Jeff Burton now goes by the wayside, and we stand by for more pit stops here as everybody will want to come in and get on some fresh tires and fill up with fuel.
Well, let's see if Floyd waves that green flag. Must have, because all the cars diving for pit road.
The speed limit on pit road is 55 miles an hour. That's what they must maintain until they reach their pit stall. Let's go to Bill Weber.
Once again, Jeff Burton flexing his muscle in Atlanta. He brings the Excite Ford into the pits. The 88, 99, and a 28 stacked on your screen. Right side for Jeff Burton. They're taking a half pound out of the right front tire. They come around to the left side. Their last pit stop was 18.2 seconds. Down to Jerry Punch.
Well, Dale Jarrett said his car was so good they don't plan any adjustments whatsoever on his car. The 99 car is out. Ernie Irvin now getting left side tires. Left side going up on Dale Jarrett's Ford Credit Thunderbird. Left front, left good luck, that's all. Ernie Irvin is down and away. Jarrett is down and away. At 55 miles an hour, they head back toward turn 1.
And you would think that perhaps the Yates team makes pit stops and practices them together. They had exactly the same time.
And Bobby Hamilton and Jimmy Spencer make contact on pit road.
Cars coming out now. John Andretti coming out. That's the last car to leave pit road. Well, there is one sitting there. And let's take a look at what happened here, Benny.
Yeah, the cars are coming out. We see Jimmy Spencer back there. Watch Spencer as he comes down pit road. And Hamilton comes out right there, and boom, they make contact, and Spencer runs into the pit wall, the wall between the racetrack and pit road.
So obviously some damage done to the Jimmy Spencer car after that collision on pit road, and now those cars that are a lap down are allowed to come into the pits and get fresh tires. We'll take another break and be right back at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
From ABC's Wide World of Sports studio in New York, here's John Saunders.
Welcome back. The International Race of Champions comes your way at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. You were supposed to be seeing the PrimeStar 500 before that, but it's been postponed because of rain. For more on that, let's join Bob Jenkins and Benny Parsons.
Well, John, unfortunately, the race just couldn't be held because of the rain that we had as the track was almost dry. So that means that we and the drivers, more importantly, Benny, have another 24 hours almost to think about this.
And they really want to get this race run on Monday, because if they don't, they'll probably have to run it next weekend. And from the 1st of February until the middle of November, these teams have 5 weekends off. It would be a shame to take one of those weekends away.
Totally green racetrack when the flag drops tomorrow.
It really is. And there's so many question marks because the cars have not practiced on this racetrack. The spoiler change we've talked about, the spoiler change is new since last fall, even since last race for the Ford Taurus. So a lot of question marks in the air.
But John, will be here at 11 o'clock Eastern Time on Monday morning on ESPN for our live coverage of the PrimeStar 500 NASCAR Winston Cup race, which was postponed by rain today. Back to you, John, in our Wide World of Sports studio in New York City.
Thanks a lot, guys. And we will have racing the International Race of Champions. But right now, back to the 97 PrimeStar 500.
The top 10 at the moment: Dale Jarrett, Ernie Irvin, Jeff Burton, Terry Labonte, and Mark Martin. 6 through 10, Michael Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt, Darrell Waltrip, Bobby Hamilton, and Bill Elliott. One more lap and we'll be back to racing. This caution was caused by a crash involving Greg Sachs, who hit the wall over in turn number 2. And then the collision on pit road involving Jimmy Spencer and Bobby Hamilton.
And Spencer has been back into the pits with his 23 car, and they checked it over.
Jack Arute has more.
Bob, let's update you first on Dale Earnhardt. They made some major changes. They took some bite out of the car, and they also took some pressure out of the rear tires. And when you take bite out of the car, you guys know you're literally trying to loosen the car up. But for Terry Labonte's team, what they decided to do was take 1 pound of air pressure out of the rear of the tires. I asked Gary Dehart as to why, and he said, well, the car, we want to try and experiment with it right now, see what taking 1 pound out will do. We may need that later in the race. Let's check in with Jerry Punch real quick.
a number of drivers are trying to lobby through their car owners or crew chiefs, and one of those is Ernie Irvin. And Ernie has talked to you, Robert Yates. What is he saying about the racetrack?
Well, he says, you know, it's starting to get where they might think about sweeping it later on today if you get a caution. When you're moving from the high groove to low groove, it gets pretty exciting, maybe too exciting.
Okay, what they're saying, indeed, what he's talking about, there are marbles, what they call marbles, little chunks of rubber up high on the racetrack. And so later on, they've asked maybe that NASCAR, in one of the subsequent caution flags, if there are some, would bring the blower out and actually blow the racetrack off so you could run up near the wall if you wanted to.
And running on those little marbles or little pebbles is like running on ice to you and me.
Exactly right. Jack Root was talking about air pressure. When they put air pressure in these tires, they make the tire firmer or add spring to the car. That is an aid that they use to adjust the chassis on these cars, simply adding or subtracting air pressure in the tires.
On the 108th lap, we are back to racing here at Atlanta. Dale Jarrett moves back out front.
And here comes Jeff Bodine. Remember, he lost that lap 40, 50 laps ago.
As a matter of fact, that problem he experienced has dropped him 4 laps back on the field, so he's got a long way to go to get back on the lead lap. Car runs right now pretty well. Here are Mark Martin and Jeff Burton, teammates for Jack Roush, running right beside each other. And then the other duo there, Michael Waltrip in 21 and Dale Earnhardt in 3.
Earnhardt going by Martin on the outside.
And Michael Waltrip does the same thing.
And now Earnhardt takes a look on the inside. Can't get by. Meanwhile, Michael Waltrip does make the pass on Mark Martin.
And that Citgo Ford up ahead of Mark Martin is owned by the Wood brothers, and they lead in terms of number of wins by car owners. They have 12 victories at this racetrack. We now ride with Michael.
And Rusty Wallace, there's Rusty Wallace right from the start-finish line. He was 26th on when the caution flag waved on the pit stops. He moved up to 17th position. Right now he's in 16th position.
Bill, what adjustments did they make to his car?
Well, Bob, I just talked to the crew. They said Rusty's been a little tight, so they made an air pressure adjustment in the tires. They also made a wedge adjustment, and they also pointed out there are more than 200 laps to go in this race, saying that they're fine, confident Rusty's going to take that Miller Lite Ford to the front.
That's a very good point. There's a long way to go, and so they have a lot of time to make adjustments and get that car just right.
There we see Ricky Craven dive to the inside of Rusty Wallace. That's Craven. Red, white, 25. And here comes Earnhardt on the inside, trying to get on the inside of Jeff Burton. That's for 4th place.
Third, fourth, and fifth right there. Terry Labonte, Jeff Burton, Dale Earnhardt. In comes Michael Waltrip. Qualifying, started 26th, now 5th.
And there's Hutch Strickland, the 8th. But remember how well he run early on, qualified 5th, ran to the top 5 early on. Now he's back in 12th spot. So I wonder what's happened here. And here comes Earnhardt on the inside of Labonte. He will take that spot away, move him into the 4th spot.
Terry Labonte drops back to 5th, and now may get a challenge from Michael Waltrip and Mark Martin. Here comes another Napa field summary for you, showing you where everyone is running at the moment and where they started. So we have in the top 5 now drivers that started from 20th on back. Bobby Gordon, the pole sitter, is currently 8th.
Strickland started 5th started 35th, 15th. Big Triple has moved from the 4th spot back to the 23rd spot.
Jimmy Spencer running there in 30th position after that incident on pit road. Jack has more on Terry Labonte. He's lost a couple of positions here in the last few laps, Jack.
Well, Bob, he's concerned. He thinks he may have a tire going down a slow leak, so he had to back out of it for a minute. So now, Benny, you guys know up there what you have to do is try to hold your breath and see if you can be sure whether that tire's going down or maybe he's just got a bad set. Right now, they're not sure whether he's going to come in or not. They left that decision up to Terry.
As long as the car will run around the racetrack as competitive as it is right now, I think Labonte will stay out there and just wait and see what happens. Remember, Jeff Gordon took that gamble last week at Richmond when the tire was rubbing, decided to stay on the racetrack, and it paid off for him.
Yep, the rub just went away after a couple of laps, and it certainly paid off for Jeff Gordon. Now here is Earnhardt trying to take the position away from Jeff Burton. Race side by side through corner number 2 and onto the backstretch. And Earnhardt goes to 3rd.
Not so fast.
Well, by a half a car length.
Yeah, he's going to have a position down there. Labonte tries to get alongside Burton, can't do it.
Apparently he has decided that the tire is not going down, so let's do some racing here. And Jack Earnhardt now seems to have found some speed.
Remember, guys, we talked about winning breeds winning and how you need luck. For Dale Earnhardt, he got a little help yesterday. A fax came in from spring training from the Atlanta Braves. It said, look, you're in our town, and all over the town, we've hidden luck for when we need it. Consider this fax a little piece of luck for you at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It was signed by a dozen of the Braves players and by the coach, Bobby Cox. They used it, went out. Maybe it was luck. They set the fastest time of second-day qualifiers, and maybe they found some more on the way to the racetrack because, boy, they're on a tear now.
And Atlanta Motor Speedway is one of Dale Earnhardt's favorite racetracks. He has 8 wins at this facility, making him the all-time leader. Has 24 top 5 finishes in his 38 starts and has won 2 of the last 3 races. He's the defending champion of this series, and in fact, that was the last time that he won a NASCAR Winston Cup race. Well, what's going on up front? Is Dale Jarrett on a Sunday drive? Yes, but he's certainly getting a much more serious challenge now from Ernie Irvan.
Yes, he is. As a matter of fact, Irvan is closed up just within a couple of car lengths of Jarrett. I mean, this 88 car, the Ford Quality Care car that we're riding along with, has been, we've talked about this afternoon, the dominant car in 1997 on the NASCAR circuit. And he continues on again this afternoon, but Ernie Irvan is certainly not letting him get away.
And although he has run well in each race in 1997, and in fact dominated a couple, he has no wins. Jerry Punch.
Well, you guys mentioned the car number 8 qualified 5th and has dropped back to 13th position. He really doesn't have a problem. His lap times haven't dropped off that much of the problem he's had. What he lost 1st and 2nd gear in the pits, only has 3rd and 4th, and lost a lot of very valuable time on that last pit stop, which put him back in the 2nd group. Now, he's trying to hang on and be smooth, but the concern is subsequent pit stops are going to be a problem, as now Jeff Burton makes a move inside of Terry Labonte for position off turn 2.
We're seeing some good competition here in the top 5 as these guys have run with each other now since the green came out from the most recent caution. Here comes Michael Waltrip now making a challenge on the outside of Burton, but Jeff, on the other hand, gets a good fight there on the low side.
And he's trying to go by the Kellogg's car of Terry Labonte. Michael goes in, grips high. You can see how much lower on the racetrack the 99 car of Jeff Burton is than Michael Waltrip's.
Michael Waltrip has finished 32nd, 26th, and 27th in the first 3 races of 1997. And look how low those 2 Jack Roush cars are running on the racetrack, both Jeff Burton and Mark Martin.
And it's not working for them. We see that Michael Waltrip closes up right on the back bumper of Jeff Burton.
Michael Waltrip finished 9th here at this race last year, and and he finished in the 11th position at last fall's race here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So 124 laps completed here out of 328, and Dale Jarrett continues to hold the lead along with Ernie Irvin running second, and Earnhardt, Labonte, and Burton. There's the interval between first and second here in the PrimeStar 500. Jarrett leads Ernie Irvin. Third place, Terry Labonte, and these guys are putting on a great show back in fourth position. That's Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Burton, and also in the mix is Michael Waltrip and Mark Martin.
Jeff Burton passed Dale Earnhardt a couple laps ago, and Earnhardt passed him right back. Cars awful equal here this afternoon.
Let's update our pole sitter, Robbie Gordon. He's in 11th position now, and we ride along with him with an onboard camera, the Briggs & Stratton onboard. Well, Robbie is, of course, a rookie contender this year and going for Rookie of the Year honors. He started first, is currently 11th. David Green started 19th. He's currently 34th. And Mike Skinner, who actually leads the Rookie of the Year point standings right now, started this race 24th, and that's where he's still running.
And we see Morgan Shepherd go by the 40 car, the Coors Light car of Robbie Gordon.
So Morgan moves to 11th and drops Robbie back to 12th.
And see Joe Nemechek. That's a team car to one of the three cars this year owned by Felix Sabates, going by Robbie Gordon.
Joe is running back in 35th. He's 2 laps down. And now the battle for the lead becomes a little more heated as Ernie challenges Dale.
This is at almost 200 miles per hour right there as the cars go down in the corner. Now they'll slow to probably 160 miles per hour and accelerate off the corner. And Ernie Irvin is the new leader.
Ernie did lead a lap at Rockingham earlier this year, so this is the second race that he's led in 1997. Jerry?
I told you in the previous pit stop that Dale Jarrett said his car was perfect and made no adjustments whatsoever, but teammate Ernie Irvin did. He made air pressure adjustments like Dale Jarrett had made on the previous stop, and those adjustments did for him what it did for Dale Jarrett. The 21 car makes a move underneath Earnhardt, and of course Michael Waltrip. That's the good thing about having a teammate. If one makes a change and it works, you know it's going to work for the other.
It looks like Dale Earnhardt now may be in a bit of a mess because he's lost 2 spots here in the last lap and may lose 3.
Yes, Jeff Burton goes under the 3, the Goodwrench Chevrolet, and will try to take that spot away. Looks like Earnhardt's car is pretty good for 15 or 20 laps and then starts slowing down. And now look on the pylon, we see the 18 car, Bobby Labonte, has moved into the top 10. They talked all weekend that that car is fast.
We've got 2 Pontiacs running in the top 10. And Bill Weber has more on Burton.
Well, Bob, look for Jeff Burton to get better the longer the runs go, because as he burns off his fuel, the car seems to come to him. Now, he has just radioed his crew saying that he's looser than he was a little earlier. He's just going to take his time. He's actually tight in the middle of the turns and loose off. But the good thing is, Buddy Parrott is warning him. It's all about tires. Conserve them, and you'll have a shot to win. Use them up, and we will not win today.
Oh, and look how close these cars are at 200 miles an hour. This is one of the fastest tracks, really, the NASCAR races on, and they do not use the restrictor plates here at Atlanta. They're just all over the place, BP.
They are all over the place. Looks like Earnhardt now is going to go by the Mark Martin car. And will take the spot away from Mark Martin.
So Earnhardt loses a couple of positions, and now he gains 1 back. There's the 18 car of Bobby Labonte. And up front, we have another battle for the lead as Dale Jarrett goes high side of Ernie Irvin and retakes the position. So Dale Jarrett puts himself back out front.
You reckon Robert Yates is getting just a little bit nervous as he watches both his cars passing each other? And he said, guys, have you never heard of running in line?
Jerry Punch is down there in the Yates pit. What are they saying, Doc?
I'm not sure it was nerves on Robert's part, but what happened was when Ernie took the lead, he said, hey, my car suddenly went away. I'm not nearly as good out front as I was following Dale. So he told his guys, when I come in next time, let's go ahead and make some more changes in the same direction with the air pressure. Then if I pass the 88 car, maybe I can stay out here.
Let's check the interval between the leader and everybody else as they cross the line. About a half-second advantage now for Dale Jarrett on the
See Terry Labonte is back 3 3/4 seconds behind, and Michael Walker just a little bit behind Terry Labonte, and Earnhardt 5.5 seconds behind.
And only 7 3/4 seconds separate first from 10th as Bobby Labonte has that 10th position. Bill Elliott running in the top 10, and there is the battle between Elliott and Labonte. Labonte way up high.
And he gets a great run off this corner, tries to get on the inside of Elliott. But Elliott also has a great run. Now Labonte will take a look. This is the battle for 10th spot.
Bill Elliott finished 4th at Daytona, was 22nd at Rockingham and 15th at Richmond. He finished 10th in this race last year. He's currently 9th, but battling for that spot, trying to hold on to it. The car on the right, the green number 18, is owned by football legend Joe Gibbs.
Inducted into the Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Last year was Joe Gibbs.
And it's interesting because Joe Gibbs' drag team is sponsored by McDonald's. The car that Labonte is battling here on the racetrack. The highest running Pontiac is piloted by Bobby Hamilton. That, of course, is the car owned by Richard Petty. And then this great 3-car battle continues.
2 Roush cars, the 6 of Mark Martin, the 99 car of Jim Burke, trying their best to catch Dale Earnhardt. And Martin runs on the bottom of the racetrack, has been down there all day long, never has run up high on the top side of the racetrack. Look on the pylon, you see that Michael Walker has now moved into the 3rd spot, getting by Terry Labonte.
Michael Waltrip has never won a NASCAR Winston Cup race.
Points paying race.
Yes, he has won the Winston. As a matter of fact, his last top 5 was in April of last year at Talladega. He finished 5th. We're talking about Michael Waltrip. And let's find him. There he is, right ahead of Terry Labonte. So a good run for Michael Waltrip and this is good for by the Wood Brothers.
Yeah, started, you can see 31st, currently is running 3rd. And Michael Waltrip yesterday in the NASCAR Busch race that ran yesterday afternoon had a terrific run and lost a tire right near the end.
And you saw the interval now is increasing between Dale Jarrett and 2nd place Ernie Irvan. Well, the sun is starting to be a bit of a factor and will continue to be so to these drivers as the afternoon wears on. We'll take another break after 145 of 328 laps at the PrimeStar 500. It's Dale Jarrett leading.
Welcome back to our Wide World of Sports studios. I'm John Saunders. Still to come, the International Race of Champions, 5 o'clock Eastern time. But right now, coverage of the 97 PrimeStar 500 in place of today's race, which is postponed till tomorrow at 11 on ESPN.
Back at Atlanta Motor Speedway. No, don't rub your eyes or try to adjust your set. We assume that Ted Musgrave's onboard camera has taken a bit of a hit and knocked it out of focus.
Yeah, something has hit the lens on the camera and obviously broken it. You can see that as he, I hope he can see better than I can as he tries to close in on Darrell Waltrip.
Musgrave running in 15th. Waltrip is 14th. That's a much better view. That's the in-car camera. The PrimeStar in-car. As Ted tried to look to the inside of Darrell Waltrip for the 14th spot.
Oh, DW's hanging in there pretty tough. Qualified third today for the PrimeStar 500, is hanging in 14th spot. Said he's going to race up front all day, and so far he has.
Ted Musgrave started in 7th position. And also in this little battle with Ward Burton there, the 22 car.
Yes. Right in front of these two cars. Burton running the bottom of the racetrack, and these two running the very top.
That groove just seems to get higher and higher out there on the track. There's the leader, Dale Jarrett, car number 88, putting a lap on the 97 car of Chad Little.
And then we see Jeremy Mayfield, the 37 car.
Next time by, we're going to show you a new innovative feature here on ABC Sports. We're always trying to look for ways to keep you better informed, and watch what happens here as Dale Jarrett crosses the line. It'll show you how they're running on the racetrack and where they are in the serial scoring. You notice there are 2 lap cars there between 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, Jeremy Mayfield, we saw him. He's now in 31st spot. Chad Little is 35th. Go on down the line. There we see David Green is in 32nd. And when Jarrett came back across the line, it quit calculating once again. We'll try this again. Oh, now we go back to Neiman check. That's all the cars we could put on the front.
That's right.
I see.
And there he goes. Crosses the line once again, but that's the way the order that they're running it on the racetrack. 3 Fords running up front, Jared Irvin and Michael Walker, followed by 2 Chevys. Now the Fords, there was a bit of a rule change this past week for the Fords.
Yeah, they got a little bit of 1/8 of an inch on the front bumper. They were able to drop the front bumper 1/8 of an inch. There we see the pole shot of Robbie Gordon as he follows John Andretti, Spencer, also the 31 car, Mike Skinner.
And Robbie has dropped back to 27th position. I'm not sure this car is running at full song.
Well, let's just listen. Okay, Robbie Gordon was not able to wade back in the accelerator, hit the accelerator, and go all the way to the floor. He had to kind of play with it to keep the back end from coming around.
So obviously the car is loose, and he's just slowing down simply because the car is not handling all that well at the moment. He's led 42 laps, started first, and he is currently at his lowest position that he has been in since the race started, 27. Labonte's still moving up.
He's trying. He's been trying to pass Bill Elliott for 15 laps. He finally was able to do it. But those 2 cars have seemed to gain on Earnhardt, Mark Martin, and Jeff Burton.
Yeah, those 3 guys have been running together for a long time. They still are, but now they've got some company in the form of Bobby Labonte and Bill Elliott. So we have 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th right there. Bobby Labonte up high, Mark Martin down on the low groove.
And Earnhardt high on the racetrack. You see that Terry Labonte, if you notice the pylon, has moved back into 3rd spot, taking it away from Michael Walker. Wow. That's quite a move.
Look at Labonte come up right beside Jeff Burton. Burton down on the low side. I think he's going to get Mark.
Looks like he is. Oh.
Yep.
Squeezes in there. Just barely squeezes in.
Oh, and Labonte and Martin might have had slight contact. Well, these guys are putting on quite a show, and they have been for the last few laps.
And Bobby Hampton not that far behind. Mark Martin finally says, okay, guys, go ahead. I will be glad to follow you fellas.
Martin drops back to 9th. Dale Jarrett continuing to lead the race. Has led 600 of the 1,153 laps raced this season, more than half. And Jarrett continues to add to that total here this afternoon. A lap on the pole sitter, Robbie Gordon, in 29th position. So So that means that now 28 cars are on the lead lap at the end of 161 circuits in the PrimeStar 500.
Welcome back. Once again, the PrimeStar 500 has been postponed because of rain in Atlanta. You can see it tomorrow, 11 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. Also later today, the International Race of Champions at 5 o'clock right here on ABC. Well, another one is in the field of 64 out of the ACC. Who would it be, North Carolina or Duke? They were dead even in the regular season, but today belonged not to that man, Trajan Langdon, as he knocks down the shot, but to North Carolina. The Tar Heels have a terrific day. That's right before halftime. Shammond Williams then with the miss. Jamison gets the putback. Antoine Jamison, too much of him today. They had a 38-18 differential in the paint. It belonged to North Carolina. Jamison finished with 22 points and 18 rebounds. They're both going to be #1 seeds, but who's it going to be in the East? For Antoine Jamison, he said they could not be overconfident in this one.
We said some things we know we shouldn't have said, and I definitely did that also. And just the way we lost at Duke, you know, it was really hard to swallow, and we really came in with a lot to prove, a lot of motivation, and you know, these guys stuck together, and we came out on top.
They will be #1 seeds. Back with more after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
From ABC's Wide World of Sports studio in New York, here's John Saunders.
And don't forget, the International Race of Champions comes your way at 5 o'clock Eastern time. Stick around to see that. But right now, we'll continue with more of the 1997 PrimeStar 500. After a series of pit stops, we pick it up. Rusty Wallace inside the car with the camera there. We'll continue throughout coverage to keep you up to date on everything else. But right now, more coverage of the PrimeStar 500.
We're riding along with Rusty Wallace, who won last week's race. He's in contention here again today. Also, he's in 12th at the moment. Now, last week, after he won the race, his engine was in scrutiny until Monday. Bill Weber explains the measurement in question in this track fact. Track facts are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil for a clean running engine.
Each week before Winston Cup teams hit the track, NASCAR performs an informal courtesy check of each car's compression ratio with a device called a Whistler gauge. The compression ratio is determined using a formula that measures the air-fuel volume in the cylinder, the larger number, divided by the compressed measurement of volume, or smaller number.
Compression ratio is the difference in volume when the piston's all the way down, plus the gasket, plus the chamber, and when the piston's all the way up, plus the gasket, plus the chamber. Divide those two measurements in each other, and that's your ratio. All we got right now is 5.2 to 1 compression ratio because the piston's not all the way up. With the valve sealed, I can bring the piston up, and we'll get the maximum reading for compression. The difference between the chamber with the cylinder with the piston at the bottom all the way compared to what it is at the top.
Once the race has been completed, NASCAR can elect to remove the cylinder head, measure the chamber, measure the bore and stroke, come up with the volume, and determine the compression ratio mathematically.
You take everything right to the line. That's what we're here for. There's the rule, don't cross it, but go right up to it and lean on it as hard as you can.
The maximum is 14 to 1 compression ratio. In other words, folks, with the piston down, if that was 14 square inches, and with the piston up, if the combustion was 1 square inch, you divide the little number into the big number, 14 to 1. And Rusty's last week was right at 14 to 1, and they had to bring the engine back to Charlotte and let it rest overnight, let it cool overnight to check it to get the final numbers on the compression ratio.
And then on Monday, NASCAR announced that yes, indeed, everything was legal, and Rusty Wallace was the winner of the race at Richmond. We're on board with Dale Jarrett, who until this race had only led 14 laps in his total 18 races here in Atlanta, but he has led so far today 126 of the first 185 laps. And moving into 10th position is a name that, well, hasn't been in the top 10 very much recently. It's good to see that Ken Schrader has moved into 10.
Yes, Schrader's poor qualifying effort, but he has moved forward, and you'll see in the top 10. Then we see Dale Jarrett, Ernie Irvin in the 28 car, Terry Labonte in the 5, Michael Waltrip, Bobby Labonte, that's the top 5. Then Jeff Burton, Mark Martin, Bobby Hamilton in the 43, Earnhardt in the 3, and there we see Kenny Schrader in the 33 car as he goes in turn 1.
And he has been in victory lane in NASCAR Winston Cup competition 4 times, and one of those times was here at Atlanta. He won this race back in 1991. Has had 3 top 5 finishes in his 25 previous appearances here at Atlanta.
Schrader started 35th today in that race, the 42 car. Joe Nemechek seems to be running pretty well in the Bell South car, but he is laps down, 2 laps down to the leader, Dale Jarrett.
It's just about 3 o'clock Eastern time, and if you're just joining us, welcome to Atlanta Motor Speedway here on ABC Sports. We're bringing you live coverage of the PrimeStar 500. The leader is Dale Jarrett. Only 1 car is out of the race at the moment, and that is Jeff Gordon, who will finish in 42nd position after early engine failure. And the overhead shots from here at Atlanta being brought to you by Pennzoil. The copter cam is high above the speedway, circulating and giving us this overhead shot of Bill Elliott, who is currently running in 11th spot.
See Elliott as he dives in the 3rd corner here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And not too far behind Bill is the leader of the race.
Dale Jarrett just setting a tremendous pace here this afternoon.
Hey, the leader, Jarrett, is slow.
Something is wrong with Jarrett as the car slows on the main straightaway and drops to the bottom of the racetrack. We can see something coming out of the left side of the car. And Jerry, any idea?
It was the ignition. The car just shut off. And I just ran over here and grabbed one of the guys. Brad Parrott, it was the ignition on the car?
Yeah, it was just the ignition. He just flipped it. He's going now.
So he flipped to the backup ignition, and boy, some anxious moments here in the 88 pits.
Well, he did lose the lead, but he held on to second. Ernie Irvin went around him and took over top spot, but Jarrett was able to get that ignition, that backup ignition turned on and saving second position. Wow, that was a tense moment, Benny.
Watch as he comes off the corner. He's coming off corner, and we see this. We see the backfire in the exhaust right in front of the left rear tire. See it there?
Yep.
And that means that the car is misfiring. Wow. That is sure poor Dale Jarrett to death.
Man. The car seems to be running okay again. So Jarrett is back on the pace, but again, he's fallen to second spot. His best finish here at Atlanta, by the way, was second. That came in the final race of the year last year. He's not too far behind.
No, he isn't. As a matter of fact, it looks like he is much faster than Ernie right now. And we see Terry Labonte isn't that far back either in 3rd spot. There we see the top 10. 135 laps to go here in the PrimeStar 500.
Putting a lap on Mike Wallace in car number 91. He is 15 laps down in 40th position.
Check the speeds at the line and just see who of the cars in the top 10 might be the fastest as Irvin goes by.
It could be Bobby Labonte at 18. Let's watch.
Hey, Terry Labonte right now 173.9, almost 174.
And here once again is the battle for the lead, and Dale Jarrett goes back in front.
And 21 car Michael Waltrip also 173 miles per hour. So Dale Jarrett back in front.
After that scare with the ignition, he's back on top. Okay, let's do it again here. Labonte the fastest. No, now the 18 is.
18 car just a little bit faster than his brother.
And let's go down to Dr. Jerry Punch in the Jeremy Mayfield pit.
tough break for Mayfield, who finished 5th in this race a year ago. Apparently he's having trouble getting the car to turn in the corner. They had just made a pit stop and left. There was some fluid on the ground. He has come back down pit road. They raised the hood, and apparently they broke a fitting off the power steering reservoir. They are now have fixed the reservoir. They're filling it back up to try to get the power steering to work. If you don't have power steering here at Atlanta with 1 mile of turns, it is a long day in about 15 laps.
Jeremy Mayfield continues to lose laps. He's back in 37th position, 5 laps down, and that count continues, of course, because he's still on pit road. And Terry Labonte now has come up to 3rd.
Just a little bit ago, we saw the 2 laps we ran the speeds. Both times we ran the speeds, he was one of the fastest, and one time was the fastest car on the racetrack.
Terry Labonte with 10 straight top 10 finishes. Still has not led a lap in NASCAR Winston Cup competition so far this year. Here comes Bobby Labonte and sets the restart from the most recent caution. MCI information will show you that he was 13th on lap 108, 10th on lap 131, then moved to 9th, and has been in 5th since lap 177. Nice steady move forward by Bobby Labonte. We'll check his speed when we come back from our next commercial break, which is coming up. 198 laps. Make that 199 laps now completed here in Atlanta. Dale Jarrett, after a scare, back on top.
From ABC's Wide World of Sports studio in New York, here's John Saunders.
Welcome back, and we hope you're enjoying coverage of the 1997 PrimeStar 500. The reason you're seeing that, because this year's edition has been postponed because of rain. It rained all morning in Atlanta. They could not get the race in. They will make it up tomorrow live at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can see that on ESPN. And still to come here on ABC, the International Race of Champions. That's at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. Also a reminder, next weekend here on ABC Sports on Saturday, the U.S. national soccer team in a tune-up for the World Cup this summer takes the field against Paraguay. Live at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on ABC. Don't forget, coverage of the World Cup 98 starts June 13th right here on ABC. Also Saturday, hit the road to the Visa Triple Crown Challenge, the first major test on the road to the Kentucky Derby, the Florida Derby live, plus coverage of another 3-year-old prep race, the Swale Stakes. Saturday, live at 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific, right here on ABC Sports. We will continue right now with more coverage of the PrimeStar 500 of 1997, and we'll see you with more in a bit.
Dale Jarrett continues to lead the PrimeStar 500 here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I'm Bob Jenkins, along with Benny Parsons, Jack Arute, Jerry Punch, and Bill Weber. Here's our Bud race recap. Jarrett has led 140 of the first 202 laps. There have been 12 lead changes, 2 caution periods totaling 9 laps, and the average speed is over 157.7 miles an hour. Those that have picked up 5 bonus points for leading laps include Jarrett, who has led the most, far and away. Robbie Gordon was the pole sitter. Mark Martin, Ernie Irvan, Terry Labonte have also led laps, along with Bobby Labonte. And the out-of-race sheet is rather short because there's only 1 car officially out of competition. That was Jeff Gordon, who departed early because of engine failure.
There we see Dale Jarrett on board with him, and someone's talking about he might still be backfiring. Let's see if we can listen and hear anything. So far it sounds good. We'll take a look on the outside at the pipe. As he accelerates down the straightaway, we should not have any backfiring whatsoever. Now going down the corner about right now, when he jumps back to the throttle, we might see something. No, still don't see anything. So
well, he survived a scare with ignition failure. They, of course, have backup ignition systems, and he switched to that. Jerry, what are they saying down in his pit?
Well, Bob, 17 laps ago when the ignition failed, they think the pressure built up so much inside that it may have cracked the header tube. And that would allow the car to backfire going in the corner when he backed off or when he jumped back in it. Now, the truth is, the good news for us is that we're running such a tall gear. We have told Dale Jarrett to let the car roll through the corners, and by letting it do that, that, it has stopped the backfiring. However, if someone puts pressure on him and he has to drive it in, it'll restart again.
Well, I was told that there we see it exactly. And I think that Jerry Bunch and those guys were right. I think that when he did this before, and they were seeing Labonte going by Michael Waltrip, that's the 4th position. But I think that Jerry Punch and those guys are right. When the car misfired and cut off that other time, it created so much back pressure in the exhaust that it did crack or blow apart the exhaust system, and they're getting some air in the exhaust. That's what's causing the backfire now.
We'll keep an eye on that as the race goes along. Meanwhile, Bobby Labonte has gone into 4th position, taking his spot from Michael Waltrip. We're on board with him with the Citgo in-car camera. Michael has been a contender all afternoon, though, and has been in the top 5 for quite a while now.
And there we see Earnhardt, Schrader, and Elliott racing 4th position. And looks like Schrader's going to take the, what is that, 10th spot away? 9th spot.
9th, yep. So good run for Schrader. 9th, Earnhardt 10th, Bill Elliott 11th. But now Earnhardt may want that position back. He dives low. Can't get it.
And Bill Elliott will go by the McDonald's car and move into the 10th spot, putting Earnhardt back to 11th.
Now the 30 car of Johnny Benson, that yellow car there on top of the racetrack, is not. He's a lap down in 27th.
The 30 car was penalized for going too fast on pit road. There we see the 8 car, Hut Strickland, and some reports around the racetrack. He has been smoking.
Currently 22nd. He's a lap down up front for the early part of the race.
Certainly don't see any smoke now in the Circuit City car.
And again, this team is
coming up on that cat car again. Doing good, drivers. Staying in there, bud.
Trying to find horsepower is Bob Glidden. He's working on that team also. Well, Bobby Labonte having a good run, Bill Weber.
Certainly is, Bob, going down the backstretch. And what's been working for Bobby Labonte and a couple of other guys has been the high groove. Now, he's been higher than that at times during the day, and that's really helped his speed. But the guy that found him first was Michael Waltrip. Earlier in the day, his car had a push. They made a track bar adjustment and a tire pressure adjustment, but the biggest adjustment was made by the driver. He found a new groove. He took it up high on the track and has been running it up there most of this race. This is a 500-mile race, but Michael Waltrip may be running a 510-mile race if he stays in that groove. Dale Earnhardt's crew noticed this. They said, let's try the high groove. Larry McReynolds timed the high groove and the low groove. For Earnhardt, the lower groove is faster. But for Michael, he's been up against the wall and put to the floor here in Atlanta.
It's a long way around up there on top. Here's an AutoZone on-track interval for Bobby Labonte. He's reduced the interval between himself and the leader, Dale Jarrett, by 0.6 of a second.
And we see that Dale Jarrett is running exactly the same speeds we saw 100 laps ago.
Yep.
What's happening, Bobby Labonte is now running a little bit faster. Look at that, 31.6, 2/10 of a second faster than our leader, Dale Jarrett.
Bobby Labonte looking for 2 wins in a row here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. He won the finale of the 1996 season here at this racetrack. Riding with the leader, looking back on the others. Well, the question is, does Dale Jarrett have more problems? The crew is working on a backup ignition system. That's what they're working on right there. Back with more in a moment.
Welcome back to our Wide World of Sports studios. I'm John Saunders. Still to come, the International Race of Champions. As you know, the PrimeStar 500 has been postponed because of rain. They'll make it up tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. If anyone wanted to get this racing, you'd think it would be Dale Earnhardt. After all, he has 8 victories at this track, and he holds the track record for both races, spring and fall. As for the delay, he says he's used to it.
Just wait like we did last night, really. It's just a normal thing for us, really. We went through so many of these rainouts and things, and we just wait till it's time to race. hopefully it'll be tomorrow 11 o'clock. It, you know, took a while to dry what they dried today, and I'm worried about them being able to get the track dry in the morning before 1 o'clock.
Again, they hope to get that in 11 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. Right now, back to our standby programming, the 1997 PrimeStar 500.
Back at Atlanta Motor Speedway, a 20.6 pit stop for Dale Earnhardt. He had just cracked into the top 10, running 10th and 11th. An early stop, and guys, he's been out of sequence by about 5 or 6 laps in the leaders through most of the afternoon. One other point to mention, we noticed down here during those pit stops that there's a crew member from Jeff Gordon's team changing the left rear. Is it maybe an on-the-job interview? Time will only tell, Jerry Punch.
Going to break, we showed you the Dale Jarrett crew looking at this backup ignition system. We told you at lap 190 his primary ignition failed. He is now running on the only one he has left. They brought this one to pit road. Let's take a look. All the switches in the front. In the back of this is the MSD amplifier box. And you say, well, what good would that do him? How long would it take him to hook up all these wires? Well, it would take him about 10 seconds because all these wires in this harness run to one central connection. They pulled the old one out, popped that one in 10 seconds during a pit stop, and wow, he has another backup ignition ready.
So we'll see if they make that change during his next pit stop, which should be coming up before too very long.
See Dale Jarrett, the leader of the race, trying to go by Darrell Waltrip. And we see still got some flame coming out the exhaust pipe. That will put Darrell Waltrip in the Western Auto Chevy a lap down.
So Darrell Waltrip goes a lap down, and now 14 cars remain on the lead lap as you take a look at where everybody is running. The Radio Shack field summary. It doesn't show Waltrip a lap down there, but he just went down.
And now we see all the cars that are now 1 lap down. Back to the 25th spot where Robbie Gordon, who just made a pit stop, is now 2 laps down.
He was the pole sitter of the race. Earnhardt also just made a pit stop. He's 2 laps down in 26th.
And Rusty Wallace, the winner last week, about to be lapped by Dale Jarrett.
Jarrett just moving through the field at random here, making a shambles of this race. Now there are 13 cars on the lead lap, and the next car that may go a lap down would be the number 10 car, Ricky Rudd. Jarrett way up high.
Now we see Jarrett going by the 96 car of David Green, and Rusty Wallace will head towards the pits.
And the 28 car, Ernie Irvan, is on pit road. Jerry Punch.
Scheduled pit stop for Ernie Irvan and the Texaco Haviland Ford Thunderbird crew. They clean the windshield becoming a factor now as the sun begins to get down. NASCAR allowing an extra man over the wall. Right side tires, great pit stop. Joey Knuckles now left front tire going on. Left rear, they have it full of fuel. And they wait to get it full of fuel. Lug nuts, and he is down the way in 18.4 seconds. Great pit stop.
And right on the racetrack now we have the battle of the Labonte brothers. Bobby, the 18, goes by the 5 car, takes over that second spot.
And again, these two were the stars last November here in Atlanta as Bobby won the race and Terry won the championship, and Jeff Burton is on pit road. Bill?
Jeff Burton is in. Right sides are already on. Now they come around to the left. They are taking a half pound out of the right front and a half pound out of the right rear tire. His car's been a little tight. They're trying to balance the car for a long run. Car is down and away. They've had great pit stops all year. That was probably another one.
Burton keeping it below 55 miles an hour down the pit road. Here's Jerry again.
And NASCAR has told Robert Yates they're going to penalize the 28 car for a stop and go for too fast exiting the pit. So they will bring the 28 back down pit road while they get ready to call his teammate Dale Jarrett in for his scheduled stop.
Wow, that really hurts with a car that competitive and being penalized for an infraction on pit road. Mercy.
You can see, once again, he's got to go 55 miles per hour, a certain speed between those white lines on pit road. Our booth beside the NASCAR. All he's got to do is stop, The NASCAR official will say go.
Has to come to a complete dead stop, and then he can accelerate, but not too fast. Here comes his teammate, Dale Jarrett, down pit road, Doc.
And Bob, 55 miles an hour. They just reminded Dale, remember, you cannot speed leaving the pits. Take your time. No adjustments. They are not going to put the backup ignition in. They do clean the windshield and the bottle of water to the driver. Right side tires going on. Now left side, they are not moving. Air brakes. How about up in Terry Labonte's pit, Jackaroo?
Jerry, they've completed the right sides, completing the left sides. Now remember, two pit stops to go as he's away, and Dale Jarrett is also away. Remember, Jerry, 2 stops ago they played with air pressure. They've split the difference between the last 2 stops, and they have actually gone down a ½ pound. And now the other Labonte's in. Bill Weber's there.
Bobby has new right side tires and Unical fuel going into his Grand Prix. Now they want him to go back on the right front and check a lug nut. They're working on the left side. The NASCAR official is holding the car. They framed Jeff Chandler around to tighten the lug nut that apparently was down on the car. Chandler back to this side and Labonte's away. 23.1. Jackaroo.
They watch the rest of the Hendrick team completes their pit stops. The 25 for Ricky Craven, very quick. And I'll tell you what, gentlemen, Craven's crew has been right on the money each and every stop.
So with everybody having made a pit stop, Dale Jarrett picks up the lead again. He has now led the most laps in this race, and he's led the most laps in each of the last 3 races. He only led the most laps in 2 races in all of 1996. We'll be back after this message.
From ABC's Wide World of Sports studio in New York, here's John Saunders.
Welcome back. Still to come at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. It's the International Race of Champions. Headed that way, we're keeping you up to date with the PrimeStar 97 500. The 98, of course, postponed because of rain. They'll make it up tomorrow on ESPN. A basketball score to get you up to date on what's going on in the field of 64. The automatic bid out of the Big Ten goes to Michigan. The first time they ever held a Big Ten tournament, Wolverines win it. Robert Tractor Trailer, 24 points. 13 rebounds, 12 of 16 from the field. Brad Miller had 23 points and 10 boards for Purdue in a loss. But Michigan has now won 6 consecutive games, so they are in that field of 64. All right, in the PrimeStar 500 in last year's race, again, what's happened lately is that Ricky Rudd is out of the race. He spun out. There was a crash between Joe Nemechek and Gary Bradbury, and we pick up the race now at Green Flag Racing in the PrimeStar 500 from last year. Enjoy.
Now we're getting set for the restart.
And once again, Lake Speed, the red car on the inside, trying to get a lap back from Morgan Shepherd. There's the 2 cars, the 1 and the 9. 17 of Darrell Waltrip, also a lap down. We're riding along with Mike Waltrip. Here's Ted Musgrave. There's Rusty Wallace. Right now, Rusty Wallace in 8th spot. Green is out.
And a great jump by Morgan Shepherd. Something may be wrong with Jeff Burton.
Jeff Burton either missed a shift or something is wrong with the car. It's not getting started in the 99 car.
Wow, he sees a lot of cars go by on the high side, and look at Dale Jarrett coming through.
And Earnhardt is not up to speed. Now looks like Earnhardt is going.
Looks like that Jeff Burton is up to speed, but both of them got very poor restarts.
And Rusty Wallace, the 2 car, pulls up on the outside of Burton. That's Mike Skinner, the 31 car.
Boy, this is just hold your breath time when they're running so close together here, and everybody knowing that what happens in the next few laps could be the race.
Shepherd still the leader of the race. This is the battle for 7th spot.
And Bill Weber has caught up with Gary Bradbury.
First of all, Gary, you told me you're okay. What happened out there?
Right, I'm fine. Well, I tell you, I really don't know. We just all got together coming up off 4 there. It ended up, I think, about 3 wide coming off 4. Well, I tell you, the restarts were really, really wild. I don't know, it seemed like everybody running like it was the last lap on the restarts, but, you know, the Collins Ford recovery Ford was really running decent today for our second outing. We got a couple laps down earlier, one in the pits, but wasn't having all that terrible a day. We were just trying to stay out there and finish, and I don't know, me and somebody got together and I got turned, and I think got into maybe Joe, but I'll have to really look at the replay to say on that one.
Okay, he took a hard lick, but that's another tribute to how safe these NASCAR Winston Cup cars are.
We're watching Ernie Irvan, who's running in 8th position. Or make that 9th now. And the 18 car of Bobby Labonte is 10th. And that's Chad Little in the mix also. There's Jeremy Mayfield, and he's got more problems.
And that could bring out the caution flag. Still nothing.
He was running in 33rd position, some 6 laps down. And there is Mark to the inside of Darrell Waltrip. Darrell is not on the lead lap anymore. He's back in 15th.
Looks like the racetrack is clean. Oh, Musgrave goes around. And Rusty Wallace is going to hit.
Oh, Rusty hits it also. And there may be oil on the racetrack.
And it's in the 25 car, Craven. Some heavy damage in front of his car where he's hit the side of the 16.
Wow. Heavy contact between the 25 and the 16.
And we see the steering wheel is already off the 16 car. Doyle Ford telling, okay, guys, slow down, slow down.
Racing back to the caution, but the drivers are kept aware of what's going on the racetrack by their spotters. And Rusty Wallace suffers a very serious setback here after a great afternoon. Here's Bill.
Well, on this side of the car, it's the left rear quarter panel is bashed in. They're trying to top it off with fuel, but working on the right side, trying to pull the sheet metal away. Now they want a sledgehammer to help with that, to get that sheet metal away from the right front tire. So they're working on the right side. Rusty and his crew very unhappy. Robin Pemberton, the crew chief out there, Billy Wilburn, calling for instructions for help on the radio. Rusty cranks the wheel to the left. They continue to work on the front right side of the car. Now they drop the right side. Rusty will go, but I think he'll be back.
And more pit stops being made as Morgan Shepherd and Dale Earnhardt come in along with Jeff Burton. So those running first, second, and third are making pit stops. So that puts Dale Jarrett back in the lead. Looks like Johnny Benson also is in. We watched Dale Earnhardt's crew go to work on the GM Goodwrench Chevy.
And look at the right rear guy with a DuPont uniform. They've gone and found a tire changer from the 24 car. Jack Arute.
Benny, they're making the change right now. They're going off all 4 all the way around. For Dale Earnhardt, remember, he's been on a sequence. They did a gas and go during the last caution. So they decided to come in under this caution in 24.3 seconds and take out the tires. As Morgan Shepherd has completed his job as well, but not soon enough. It's Earnhardt that leads them out into turn 1.
And Johnny Benson also gets out in front of Morgan Shepherd. Now, folks, here's the car that we talked about, Jeremy Mayfield, right there. The car that the engine is going south. That's in turn 2. And we don't know if there's any fluid coming out of the car or not, but that is Jeremy Mayfield. Now, the next time that the cars come by, we'll see where Jeremy comes off the corner. The next time that the cars come by, we see Musgrave. No, he's too high on the racetrack. Musgrave did not get in any fluid. He was too high on the racetrack. So I'm glad we were able to solve that puzzle.
He may run into those marbles that we've been talking about most of the afternoon, way up high there.
He was very high, and there all of a sudden we're going to see, boom, right here is going to be a heavy blow from the 25 car.
That blow came on the passenger side of Musgrave's car. Here it is from Ted's onboard camera. A very noisy and a very violent wreck.
And just listen. Oh, man.
Oh, some dramatic shots there for you. There is Musgrave looping it. Now watch Rusty Wallace come along. There he is on the bottom. He's out of control, slides up the racetrack, makes contact with the outside wall.
And Rusty almost hit that wall head on.
Yep.
Now the cars are going to the inside, trying to avoid. Jimmy Spencer goes between the two cars. Now he goes. Bill Weber, what's going on in the pits?
Jeff Burton is back for his second stop under this caution. He ran into Rusty Wallace with the right front side of his car. So they've made a giant tape Band-Aid. They worked on the right side last time. Frank Stouter continues to work heavily taping the right front quarter panel of the X-Side Ford. They've just changed left side tires. They've also put fuel in, 270 laps on the board. Rusty Wallace also in. They've got that car up on the right side on jacks. They tear out one of the crush panels on the right rear. Meanwhile, they continue to work on the 99, still pulling the sheet metal away from the right side. Burton wants to go, slowly creeps off and takes off. And they continue to work on Rusty Wallace's Miller Lite Ford here on pit road.
So the crash was costly for several of those who were up in contention for this race. Rusty remains on pit road and now rolls away.
And Rusty Wallace will be lapped. He's coming down pit road in the, let's see what the...
I think he ran the stoplight.
I think he did too.
Yeah. He was showing green this sign, so it would have been showing red toward him. If that indeed was the case, there is Ted Musgrave's badly damaged family PRIMESTAR car being taken off the racetrack, and Ricky Craven's car is even in a bigger mess. There's a conference going on in Dale Jarrett's pit. Jerry, what are they talking about?
Well, it was sort of a team conference, Bob. The 88 pits and the 28 pits were together, and Robert Yates was involved. What they were trying to discuss here a moment ago was who had what tires left in case they do have to come down pit road one more time. They're not planning on another pit stop for either car, but who had sticker tires, who had scuffed tires, and most importantly, they came up to Robert, who runs the show, Robert Yates we're talking about, said, let's check and see, make sure we can both make it on fuel. They both said they're okay on fuel, but one guy who won't make it apparently going behind the wall is Rusty Wallace.
Yeah, the Miller Lite Ford is behind the wall, and so Rusty Wallace's day may be over. At least his possibility of winning this race is over. Jeff Burton, they continue to work on his car. He goes back out there. We'll be back after this message.
Welcome back once again to our Wide World of Sports studios. I'm John Saunders. Still to come, the International Race of Champions. That's at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. But right now, we continue coverage of the 1997 PRIMESTAR 500. And we'll see you again in a bit.
There's the overhead view once again of Atlanta Motor Speedway from the Pennzoil copter cam, circling over on the back stretch, but giving us the shot of the front straightaway, which will be the back stretch next year because they're changing the configuration of this racetrack, and it will be ready for November. And they're also building new grandstands over on what will become the front stretch.
So, folks, if you want to see the final race of the 1997 season here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, they're ensuring that you can. 37,000 new seats going up.
Rusty Wallace is behind the wall, and you see he's out of the car, and the crew's still working on it, trying to get him back into the race. Let's go to Bill Weber.
And Rusty Wallace has been watching his crew work on his car. I know you're disappointed. What happened out there, man?
Well, I don't know what happened. A couple of cars took on two tires, and I don't know if they got loose by doing that or what, but right before that, Robin says, watch for oil going into turn 1 and 2. And then I saw Musgrave getting real loose and spinning on top of the racetrack, and I went to the bottom. The car, whoever's behind me couldn't get slowed down. I got tagged in the back, and that was about it.
You guys really worked hard to get back on that lead lap, too.
Yeah, we started 38th. We're up to 7th, and the car was running pretty good. We loosened it up right there at the end. I think I had a good car.
Okay, that's Rusty Wallace. He won last week, but not this week.
Some dramatic shots here from Ted Musgrave's onboard camera. fasten your seat belts in your easy chair as we ride with Ricky Craven. Just don't know where to go, and unfortunately Ricky Craven chose the wrong way because he had just total impact there with Ted Musgrave's car.
And we see all those fellas cleaning with the oil dry, trying to clean up the racetrack. This is really playing in the hands of those fellas that we thought about might not can make it. These caution laps have reduced speed. They're not using nearly as much fuel, and they should be able to make it now. As we see the Radio Shack field summary.
With 11 cars on the lead lap. Darrell Waltrip in 12th a lap down. Robbie Gordon, the pole sitter, is 14th a lap down.
Now we look back to 16 through 30, Lake Speed. And Rick Mass, Spencer, Petty. Now all those cars 1 lap down. Then Trickle heads the cars that are 2 laps down. Just 4 of those cars.
And now the remainder of the field, and again the list of those out of the race is growing because of the accidents and other attrition that we've had. But look down on the bottom of the list. The 42nd finisher in today's event was Jeff Gordon, who dropped out very early because of engine failure. And so the points leader will suffer greatly here in this event in terms of the point standings.
There we see Robbie Gordon, the pole sitter. That's the Briggs & Stratton onboard camera, the face cam, as we just leisurely sit back and say, this is nice. What a way to make a living, huh?
Monday, how did this mysterious doctor, now suspected in 11 deaths, continue to practice medicine? John Stossel on the trail.
2020 Monday.
Welcome back to the PrimeStar 500, postponed in Atlanta because of rain. They'll make it up tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time. You can see that on ESPN. Don't forget the International Race of Champions comes your way at 5 Eastern. Right now, more of the 1997 PrimeStar 500.
Still under caution here at Atlanta because of the multi-car accident in the backstretch. Now, Ricky Craven is okay, and we'll talk with him hopefully in a few minutes. We will talk now with Ted Musgrave.
And Ted, you're limping a little bit. You okay?
Well, what a spectacular way to end this PrimeStar 500, huh?
I didn't want to bring that up.
Wow. Well, yeah, I thought I was going to at least get a good top 10 for the sponsor, you know, maybe top 5. But like I say, the car was just a tick loose, but I don't know what happened down there. It got away so fast on me. I'm not really sure if we run over something or whatever, but I just couldn't gather it back in. Tried my darndest, but the guys were working hard. You know, we just kept working at it. Hopefully a top 10 for the PrimeStar Family Channel car, but it turned out a total wreck.
An incredible hit, Ted.
You wouldn't believe it. I got the frame rail to the right side over by my shifter. I can actually reach out and touch the frame rails over there. I'd never seen a car with so much damage and come out okay, so that thing must be built safe.
Okay, another testament to how safe they are. Jerry Punch.
About 10 minutes ago, we saw a team meeting here in the Yates pits with the 88 crew of Dale Jarrett, the 28 crew of Ernie Irvin. What they were trying to do was calculate the fuel mileage, and here's the result. The 88 car could go the rest of the way, no problem, but the 28 car of Ernie Irvin could not make it the rest of the way. That is until this caution flag came out. I'm told by one of the engine builders the carburetor on Dale Jarrett's car is a little more efficient, doesn't burn as much fuel as the one on Irvin's car. This caution flag should allow Ernie Irvin to make it the rest of the way on fuel.
Well, Jerry, we take a look at fuel. We told you before that this team, Terry Labonte's team, had no intentions of coming onto pit road. But here were some numbers that concerned us. They were averaging about 64 laps a pit stop. When they last pitted on 259, I meant they would have to go about 68 laps. But here's the deal now. With all these cautions, there is no question that this team can go the distance. They don't intend to come back in here. For good news about another driver that was in that crash, let's check in with Bill Weber.
Thanks, Jack, and the day is over for Ricky Craven. First of all, you're okay.
Oh, yeah. It amazes me, though. You know, you run 200 laps here in Atlanta, 150, 200 laps without a caution, and then you have 3 or 4 in a row.
What happened out there, Ricky?
Well, you know, what got us was just out of everybody's control when Ted was spinning, and I watched him all the way from 2, and I had the brakes on. If you're not going to stop, I had a car to the low side of me, so I'm pinned up against the wall, and I never expected him to come back up. I mean, the backstretch is banked, and and he just was spinning so much it carried him back up right in front of us, and go to Darlington.
Okay, that's Ricky Craven. He's obviously very disappointed.
I, too, was a little surprised, Benny, that he did come back up on the track, but he came up right in the path of Ricky Craven. It just happened so quickly. And one thing we can be very, very thankful for, and that is the impact was on the passenger side.
Exactly. You see Ricky Craven, and he's not limping at all, walking away, and looks like he is going to be A-OK. KK said, "You sure you're okay?"
Boy, back down to Jack.
Bob, real quick, Gary Dehart has radioed to Terry Labonte the condition of Dale Jarrett's car. They were talking back and forth. They don't feel that that it's going to be a big problem, the misfire. But the comment back to Dehart, back to Labonte was, maybe if we can get him to have the header fall off, then we'll have a chance at winning this thing.
Well, let's see what happens here as we get ready for the restart. It will be at least another lap and a half before they get the green, so we'll take another quick break. Be back for more from Atlanta Motor Speedway and the PRIMESTAR 500.
Welcome back to the International Race of Champions. Now just about a half hour away, 5 o'clock Eastern time. We'll continue with more coverage of the PRIMESTAR 97 500 in a moment.
From ABC's Wide World of Sports studio in New York, here's John Saunders.
International Race of Champions at 5. Right now, more of the 97 PRIMESTAR 500.
ABC's coverage of the PRIMESTAR 500 continues from Atlanta Motor Speedway, and the teams have just been given the 1 lap to go signal, and the overhead shots courtesy of the Pennzoil Copter Cam. You can see them lining up 2 abreast for the restart. Had a jet dryer around the backstretch to blow some of the oil dry away that was put down following that crash that involved Ted Musgrave and Ricky Craven and others. Well, here are the points leaders going into this event, where they started and where they are now. Jeff Gordon, of course, started 23rd, was the first out of the race. Terry Labonte from 2nd to 3rd. Jarrett from 9th to 1st. Rudd from 25th to 40th. And Craven, 13th. He's out of the race. Rudd has just gone back into the race, and so has Rusty Wallace. Now, if points were awarded at this very moment, Jeff Gordon would fall to 4th in the point standings. Jarrett, Terry Labonte, and Mark Martin would be ahead of him, and Bobby Labonte would be 5th in the point standings if those points were awarded right now.
Okay, here we go. Car should be able to go the rest of the way. Pace cars off the racetrack. Green flag is out.
Pretty good jump. That's Mark Martin running in 2nd position and Terry Labonte in 3rd. Walter running right up there at the front of the field, but he is a lap down. We look back on Terry Labonte from Mark Martin's car, and here comes Robbie Gordon out of nowhere.
Wow, where did he come from?
He's a lap down in 14th, but obviously wants to get the lap back. Mark Martin will pass by Darrell Waltrip. This is Robbie Gordon's Briggs and Stratton onboard camera. And there we go! No! Steve Grissom with a horrible crash and fire on the racetrack.
It's knocked the gas tank out of the 41 car. That's what we see blazing over there. Is I think the gas tank is over against the wall.
This is at the end of the backstretch. Greg Sachs has stopped over there, but the ambulance is on the scene very quickly. The driver involved is Steve Grissom. Just tremendous impact with the wall at the end of the backstretch.
That is not where he made contact with the wall, but I think that would be the gas tank float.
I think it,
have to wait and see.
Yeah. There's not much you can say at this point except Let's just hope and pray that Steve Grissom is okay. The fire crew also quickly on the scene. They have that fire extinguished already. You can see the angle of the wall there at the end of the backstretch. Here is a replay.
And we see him back at the very end of the screen. Right there. Right there is the white car. And Spencer sideways, and Steve Grissom trying to dodge Spencer. Just all of a sudden, boom, and look at the car go up in the air. That's the Mike Skinner car.
Yep.
Mike Skinner and Steve Grissom trying to dodge Skinner. I mean, the 23 car of Spencer. And look, there's the gas tank.
Yes.
Hang on a second. I'll show you this gas tank, folks, as it goes across the racetrack. Right up there is the gas tank.
And it makes contact. It impacts the wall and then splits open, and the fire begins.
I think other cars will go through there, and the exhaust is going to ignite. There we see that car. That's Mike Wallace's Spam car. Goes through the gasoline and ignites it as it goes through.
And there is Kenny Wallace as he goes through also. May have made contact there with Grissom's car as it still has not stopped rolling or pirouetting. And the wall just, and there is where Grissom made contact with that inside wall, and it split it right in two in several places. So they continue to work to get Steve out of the car. Here's the Pennzoil copter cam shot.
And there we see Grissom. There we see the gasoline. Look at all that gasoline when it ignites, when he hits the wall. And there we see Mike Wallace go through, ignite the gasoline. Wow.
Steve Grissom, originally from Alabama, has been making his home in Concord, North Carolina, driving the Kodiak Chevy owned by the Larry Hedrick team.
Obviously, you can see that the race has been red flagged by the NASCAR officials to get all the safety equipment there that they need. Hard impact with the wall from Grissom as he tried to avoid the 23 car.
We understand that they have gotten him out of the car. He is on the stretcher and being loaded into the ambulance. Steve is married, his wife Susan. They have one child, Kyle, who was born back in 1989. One of the most vicious accidents we've seen in Winston Cup racing in a long time.
There we see the guys, they're watching the TV, they're watching the monitor just like we are to see if they can tell anything about their driver. I'm told that he right now is holding his own oxygen mask as they place it over his nose.
He appears to be conscious. His eyes are open and he is holding his own oxygen mask. Wow. We'll continue to monitor this situation very closely, and just as soon as we have any concrete information on the condition of Steve Grissom, we will of course pass it along to you. In the meantime, let's take a break.
Welcome back again to our Wide World of Sports studios. I'm John Saunders. You're watching the 97 PrimeStar 500 because the 98 has been rained out. They'll make it up tomorrow, 11 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. Amazing as it seems, Steve Grissom came out of that crash with only a broken ankle. They had a 50-minute delay, and we join them now as they go to restart this race. Again, Steve Grissom with just a broken ankle after that horrific crash.
The overhead shots coming to you from the Pennzoil copter cam, and it has been with us all day long and still have, what do we have, about 48 laps? No, we'll have 38 laps to go. and about 22 minutes of racing. The lights atop the pace car are out, and we are set to go back racing. Stay with us. This thing is far from over. It's still anybody's race. Dale Jarrett leads him down at a rather slow pace. Now he picks up the accelerator, and the green flag resumes the PRIMESTAR 500.
And I'm told that the racetrack right now is 22 degrees cooler than it was 1 hour ago when they were racing. So some of these chassis will not be as good as they were an hour ago. Or some of them might be better. Oh, the car's very high.
Raising some dust was Robbie Gordon as his car was high on the racetrack. The drivers complained about the track changing so much during qualifying on Friday, and it's going to change here this afternoon, too.
We can see the cars going by with such a force that it shakes the camera as they go by. There we see Robbie Gordon in front of Ernie Irvin. Irvin is a third-place car.
Robbie is trying to get that lap back, but not having much luck because that 88 car has taken off like a shot. Here's Dale Earnhardt trying to get through the traffic. He goes to the low side of Darrell Waltrip, looking to the inside at least. Now lines up behind him. It's John Andretti beside him in the 98.
And right now, the 44 and 17, Petty and Waltrip are racing for position. But now Earnhardt goes by Petty.
Dale Earnhardt runs in 7th position. You see that on your scoring pylon there on the left side of your screen. Now he goes to the inside of Darrell Waltrip. That's Rusty Wallace, who's come back out of the racetrack. Running very slow down the backstretch.
Morgan's going to come off the corner, going to make the 3 abreast. Oh, baby.
Bobby Hamilton remains a contender. Remember, he made the pit stop. He's on fresh tires now. The last car on the lead lap. That's why he pitted.
But he will never get through this traffic, I don't think, and get to the leader to use those fresh tires because he is mired in heavy, heavy traffic.
Looks like the fastest car that last lap was second place. Mark Martin, just about half a mile an hour quicker than the leader. Here is Dale Jarrett. The 22 car is not on the lead lap. He is situated between first and second.
And we see what these cooler temperatures are doing to the speed. Earlier today, we see 172, 173 miles per hour. Look at this, 179 miles per hour. Here comes Robbie Gordon up on the outside of Mark.
And Gordon is passing the second place car, so it is not out of the realm of possibility that he could get back on the lead lap if we have another caution, but he's going to have to, of course, pass the leader to do so. The 5 and 18 cars are battling for 4th position. Terry in front, Bobby, his brother, behind. Bobby going way up the racetrack while Terry stays down low.
Well, you talk about 2 different lines around a racetrack. And there is a battle for the second spot. The 6 car, the blue and white car, Mark Martin has it. The red and black 28, Ernie Irvin wants it. And Robbie Gordon is slow in front of these cars.
Mark going to the inside. You'll see Robbie on the left of your screen here in just a moment. There he is. Staying ahead of Mark, and the 28 car of Ernie Irvin takes over second spot.
And 18 car takes a look. Bobby Labonte takes a look on the inside of Terry, his brother.
And Bobby Labonte takes the position from Terry Labonte, and so Bobby moves to 4th. But up front now, it becomes a battle of the Robert Yates cars. Ernie Irvin has moved to second. His teammate Dale Jarrett is the leader of the race. Jarrett has a fairly substantial lead on Ernie at the moment, but here is Ernie going to the inside of Robbie Gordon. And now just 1 car between first and second. That would be Ward Burton, the lap car. 298 laps are complete. We have 30 to go here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And we will be back.
Welcome back to our Wide World of Sports studios. I'm John Saunders. Now just about 10 minutes away from the International Race of Champions. But first, the conclusion of last year's PRIMESTAR 500. We'll see you again in a moment. Let's get back to the race.
8 laps to go. Dale Jarrett crosses the line, completes lap 320. He's maintaining his lead, second and third place. Well, we've mentioned it before, but in case you're just joining us, it has been an afternoon of excitement for Dale Jarrett. He has dodged a couple of bullets this afternoon. He had an ignition go bad on him, and he changed that, switched over to the backup ignition. He also was close to being involved in an accident, but Dale Jarrett leads at the moment as we near the end of this event. 7 laps to go, and here is Burton making a bid on Mark Martin. Nope, couldn't do it.
Now he's taking a look on the outside. And he's there on the outside. Takes the spot away.
So Jeff Burton goes to 5th. Mark Martin back to 6th position. Michael Walter continues to run 7th. Terry Labonte is 8th. Dale Earnhardt is 9th. And the 43 of Hamilton is 10th. These are cars owned by Jack Roush, their teammates, Burton and Martin.
As we watch these guys, there we go back to the leader. And I'm not trying to pump this thing up or anything, but they're gaining on him. The second place car is gaining on Dale Jarrett.
But he only has 5 more laps to go.
Well, that's right. So maybe this thing will last long enough.
Terry Labonte and Dale Earnhardt are racing for position. Labonte has struggled since the restart after the red flag. He finds himself in 8th. Dale Earnhardt in 9th, as you can see on your scoring pylon. Bobby Hamilton running 10th.
And there we see the STP Pontiac come into the picture.
Earnhardt's got a good run on the outside of Terry.
Looks like he's going to move back. Yes, he does. Sure does.
So move the 3 up to 8.
43 car, Hamilton's tires are just a little bit better than some of these other, than the 5 car especially. Here we go. Dale Jarrett comes off the corner. This time it'll be 3 to go. There is 2nd and 3rd.
Yes, they are definitely gaining on him, but there's less than 3 laps to go now. Here comes Bobby Hamilton to the inside of Terry Labonte here on the front straightaway. And Bobby Hamilton will drop back behind Terry into turn 1. Labonte goes way up high on the racetrack, and Hamilton tries to take the spot away down low. I don't think Labonte wanted to get that high, did he?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, look at the low line. Yeah, he's up there again.
He's up there again.
Less than 2 to go now, BP. Yep, Hamilton just cannot get by Labonte.
And he drives it once again. Has a good run this time. Come off the corner, and Labonte is there.
Labonte makes up on the straightaway when he loses in the corners. The white flag is out. 1 more lap to go for Dale Jarrett. He continues to maintain about a 2.3-second advantage over Ernie Irvan and Morgan Shepherd. There they come off the second corner. There come Ernie and Morgan. Dale Jarrett now looking into turn number 3. Keeps the car in the middle of the straightaway. We see the car still backfiring as it has for a lot of the race. But it doesn't make any difference because Dale Jarrett wins the PRIMESTAR 500 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Ernie Irvan finishes 2nd. Morgan Shepherd is 3rd. Here's the race for the 9th position at the line. Off of corner number 4, Labonte has 9th position. Bobby Hamilton finishes in 10th.
Welcome back once again. Let's take a look at how they finished in 1997 at the PRIMESTAR 500. Dale Jarrett, the winner. That's the good news. The bad news, no drivers won back-to-back championships there since 1968 and 69. Cale Yarborough did that, and you can see if he can turn the double play tomorrow, 11 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. A reminder, coming up next, the International Race of Champions. Back with some basketball scores in a moment.